either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Welcome to the One More for the Good Guys podcast, where good guys gather to shed light on the good life, the people, and the good things that make it that way. I'm Mike McGill with my co-host, Jamie Akins. Now, raise your glass, lend us your ear, and let's have one more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man. Well, hey, everybody, McGill Billy here.
And I'm Jamie.
And we got welcome back to the Honky Tonk. Welcome back to One More for the Good Guys podcast. Thanks for all your social media responses and your likes, your follows, your comments, all that good stuff. We got a special guest with us today, and we're going to ask you to make him welcome. Our special guest today, Mr. Josh Griffin.
Fellas, good to see you.
How are you?
Fantastic.
Do you remember and or did you know that I used to coach you in Little League football way back in the day?
Yeah, absolutely. Many vivid memories of the little kids' football.
Yeah.
But now, was that, were you in cahoots with Beaty Hauser?
Yeah, it was me and Beaty.
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah. How old were you then? Was that like, like 12-year-old?
I had to probably be 11 or 12 years old.
That's what I was thinking. So that would be like midgets.
Yeah.
Or,
well,
it wasn't hoppers or cutters.
No,
that was the little kids. Or
it was older than that.
Yeah.
Midgets or super midgets, I'd say.
Yeah.
Right before middle school.
It was right before middle school.
Yeah. Well, we're tickled to death to have you here. I didn't know. Of course, I looked a whole lot different back then. I was very clean and looked like I could have sold Bibles door to door for some organized movement, but never did that. By the way,
back when we shopped at the regular size store.
Yeah, and you always start out up here, and then straight to the bottom.
White Russian.
You got to tell them we're fat. There's a damn camera.
You guys are even behind a table.
Hey,
yeah. I mean, I've done my best.
Yeah,
to disguise the fact.
Well, I've been a chameleon myself over the years. You know, this is the last couple of decades are the only time that my hair's not been down past my shoulders for many years.
Well,
so.
I remember running into you several years back somewhere. I think I might have been playing somewhere. I just got done playing somewhere, and I ran into you, and I talked to you for just a little bit. And I believe at the time, you had the music bug too there for a little while, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
maybe you still do. I don't mean that as in past tense. But.
No, but played out there quite regularly for many years.
That's what I was thinking.
There in the early 2000s, fell in with a couple of fellow outlaws, I believe.
The way he says fell in.
And two of my closest friends now, Jonathan Sexton.
Yeah.
And Jamie Cook. I ended up meeting both of those guys. We all worked at Willis Music at the now defunct Easttown Mall.
Yeah.
But we all kind of got in together with we all had a deep admiration for the Allman Brothers and Clarence White and Graham Parsons, and ended up figuring out that we had a lot more in common than we did different, and had a group there that we played quite a bit. At that time called Oversoul.
I was probably spending majority of my time in either Sevier County playing up there or out on the road. I was still playing probably at that time. What year would that have been, or close to?
That was probably in 2000.
Yeah, so I was doing that, and
Well, I would just get that actually. But anyway.
I'm confused on the time frame. When were you at Willis Music? When was that?
So that was in there. That was around 98, 2000.
Yeah,
whenever I started down there.
I was in there all the time because it's mostly pianists.
Yeah.
But my buddy Mike worked there. What was his last name? And his wife was the manager at one time.
So was that was Brenda the wife? No, it was a blonde-headed woman.
No, this lady was black, jet black hair, short.
Okay.
And this might have been before then. It could have been early 90s.
Probably.
But it probably was. I don't know that I went East Town much after about 2000. So.
I ran into Jamie, when was it? Last month. I went down and did the Unlikely Songwriter Trio with our good friend and guest Trisha Jean Brady, and her and Jamie used to play together in the Black Lilies.
Yes.
So I got to briefly speak to him. You know how it is when you're working, but yeah, Jamie's a heck of a musician, guitar player, hell of a drummer.
Absolutely.
Great drummer.
Just a fantastic musician and human being all
and
around.
A good dude.
Yeah. It really turned me on to a lot of things that would that really would change my life. It sounds a little bit contrived to say that, well, maybe not to you guys, that music can change your life, but
man.
It's a universal language.
Whenever I heard
anyone can understand.
Saved me.
Exactly. You know, and something happened to me a couple of different times with Jamie in particular, hearing there's a recording of the Byrds live at the Fillmore in 1969 with Clarence White and Gene Watson, those guys. Yeah. And just that 8 Miles High that they did there really kind of changed the way that I thought about guitar playing and how genres can bend with one another. Yeah. And it's, I would have always thought of Clarence White as more of a clinical bluegrass picker.
Yeah, flat picker.
Exactly. And listening to those recordings, he really, he's in the vein of Thurston Moore or just any sort of guitar expressionalist, I guess, that I can imagine. And then also, Jamie turned me on to Graham Parsons and the Fallen Angels live in, what is that? The Hempstead, New York studios where he's playing with Jimmy Burton.
Yeah. The Cosmic Country and
all
that stuff.
Yeah, that really kind of changed my outlook of music in general at the time.
That's very cool. Because I knew at one time, I can't remember if we were, if we had been talking about, or if we talked about it that night, or if it was at a show or somewhere we had ran into each other. But then I found out, and I may have heard it from somebody else. I don't remember. But so you were playing guitar, and then didn't you fool around with pedal steel some? Do you still do? Or
love the pedal steel. Don't really get a chance to pick anything as much as I would like to anymore. But I had really got super turned on to it seeing Tom Pryor play around town. He played in what I contend was probably the best Knoxville band that's ever been, the Whiskey Scars with Jamie and John.
Yeah.
So I got to spend a lot of time with Tom then and really got turned on to the pedal steel. Yeah. Went and took a few lessons from Stony Stone Cipher.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So studied with him for about a year and a half and, just kind of jumped in there. And at the time, I was playing a lot with a buddy of mine, Johnny Flanagan, drummer and really like-minded musician. Yeah. But I was really more into more avant-garde kind of like Sonic Youth, maybe even verging on like Larry Coryell, like Out of Space, maybe like Freak Out Miles Davis, kind of Buddy Miles grooves with a lot of fuzz or phaser. Yeah. So wasn't really using it in the traditional sense that a man would use the pedal steel, but had a lot of fun with it.
I mean, when you think about that, you think of Robert Randolph. I mean, it's the first one that come to my mind.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're talking about all that.
I may have the only mandolin in the country signed by Robert Randolph. We'd gone down to see him play at the Disc Exchange, and I didn't have anything else in my car, but I had my mandolin in there, so took it in there, and he said, "This is the first time anybody's ever had me sign a mandolin."
That's pretty cool. Man, I miss the Disc Exchange in a lot of ways. The in-studio deals that they used to do there. I got to see. I got a picture here somewhere of me and Dale McCurry from one year that I went down there and got to see him play. And who else? I think of J.D. Crowe and the New South. I think we got to see them once, and then there's a couple other acts. But that was always really cool just to be. Stop in out of the blue. And, you got the listening headphones, and you had so many people that had their finger on so many different pulses and so many different genres that you could just really, if you went in there, and it sounds like you're one of those persons too, like us to a degree, but with an open mind of music is music, and there's good music and there's bad music. That's what we get over that. I get that asked all that all the time. What's your favorite kind of music? And I was like, good music.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like bad music, So
or Blake Shelton.
Well, I mean,
who is doing a documentary on Keith Whitley.
Oh, you're kidding.
Blake Shelton.
Oh, no.
You know what he did? You know who Blake Shelton is?
I've heard tell of him.
That's good.
I'm not really into that.
That's good
type of stuff.
Yeah, good for you. First of all, he's a country music artist, self-proclaimed country.
Sure.
And about 10 or 12 years ago, he said something. Somebody was asking him about the new country versus the old. He's like, yeah, people want to hear what we're playing now. They don't want to hear your daddy's music and made all this whatever.
Your grandpa's music. And it wasn't today versus the old. It was today versus Ray Price had just put out a new album.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
He talked shit about Ray Price.
And Ray
I was
Price,
just like,
and Ray Price handed him his AWS too.
You're dead to me.
And so now, Blake Shelton, you go to hell.
Oh,
Listen,
me.
Keith Whitley, you don't fuck with Keith Whitley.
No.
Lori Morgan, I would piss on her if she was on fire. Telling you right now, good guys or not, that ain't happening. You killed one of my heroes. Anyway, sorry.
Settle down, Beavis.
It's a White Russian.
Now, was Lori Morgan involved with Keith Whitley?
Yeah, they were married for
she killed him
several years.
Just say it. She killed him.
Well, yeah.
Tell Lori I love her.
Oh man, you remember that song?
No.
Okay, so there's a I can't remember what record it's on. It's definitely on like a greatest hits thing. So if you go back and download that or find the record, but he had made basically he had just him and a guitar and the old school shoebox Radio Shack cassette recorder.
Right. We've got one speaker.
Yeah.
We've got a handle at the top.
Yes.
We've got the buttons facing the handle.
Exactly. And he recorded this song on there, and it made the record, but he recorded it right before he had passed away, and it's titled "Tell Lori I Love Her." And I mean, it's an unbelievably written song. And then, of course, even though it was recorded on that, the performance was just unbeatable, But yeah, Keith definitely had a lot of demons, and
the top of the line demon was named Lori Morgan.
I'm getting there, big mouth.
A1.
Did you ask me to talk about it, or did you just want to continue talking about it? I think he said, "You tell him." But no, I mean he had a lot. He had lots of demons, and definitely Lori Morgan was one of them, along with addiction and drug and alcohol. I mean, they had to hide the cologne.
Wow.
And the light bread, you know. I mean,
Sure.
And yeah, and unfortunately led him to a very early grave. And you know, she was had well, I mean, before he had gotten cold, she was dating Troy Aikman. So I mean, you know, it's the story.
It's because
could go
she's
on
a
and
murdering
on.
whore.
Well,
That's why.
I mean,
My word.
Listen, I'm telling you right now. And then went and married Sammy Kershaw when she went broke.
well,
No kidding.
Sammy, you should have known better.
He needed a queen.
she had to
There
be
you go.
somebody. You know, I mean, brand new double wide and everything.
Here. You know, and it's interesting too. Like Keith Whitley is one of those artists that I've always heard so much about, but never really dove in there. But
Yeah,
has also really had an influence on me music wise, in that I heard Vince Gill once in an interview talking about Keith Whitley's father making them take their instruments everywhere they went because they never knew when they might have a chance to perform or to play with anybody. And that's why I had my mandolin with me that day at the Disc Exchange back in, 2001, was because of that interview. I always wanted to have an instrument with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there's there's 2 or 3 things you can, if you want to do a deep dive, that can get you caught up with his legacy, where he came from and all that stuff. You know, back in the day, and you said Vince Gill, but I think it was Skaggs.
Oh, it may have been Ricky Skaggs.
Because they did an album together,
Which
and they
is
were
phenomenal.
both. They're both from that same Pikeville, that area up there in Kentucky, where obviously where so many great country music entertainers are from. But they did an album together that is just them. It's just guitar and mandolin. And it sounds like Ralph and Carter from back in the day. I mean, all this beautiful brother harmony. Matter of fact, I know the other show that I seen at the Disc Exchange, now that we're talking about this, I had a copy of that CD, and Skaggs was there with a condensed version of the Bluegrass Group.
Okay.
This was when like Bluegrass Rules first came out, the first when he came out in the bluegrass after the country career and all that. And I had him sign it, and that's a picture of him and Keith on the cover. And he reminisced about it just a bit and was just like, man, I miss him so much. What a talent, you know. But there's that, and to back that story up, there, as legend has it, one time they were opening up for Ralph back in the day, and it was like at one of the school gymnasiums or hall or whatever, right? And Ralph is late. They've got caught by weather or something like that, and they're playing. And when they get there, Ralph asked immediately, "Who's singing my brother's songs? Who is that singing my brother's songs?" Of course, it was Keith and Ricky, just them as a duo. And then wasn't long after that, they both became Clinch Mountain Boys.
Okay.
And there's a great video from, and I can't remember if it was Kentucky Mountains or Kentucky Center of Arts or the Mountain Stage or what it was shot somewhere in Kentucky, but it's on YouTube. You can find it. And it's Keith fronting the band with Ralph. And it's Ralph on banjo, Curly Ray Klein on fiddle, Keith on guitar, Renfro Prophet playing all that cross-picking stuff.
Yeah.
And Jack Cook on bass, the Cookie. And it is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And the whole show, you can catch it on YouTube.
No, I'll have to get into it.
It's like Carter came back to life.
Oh man, they sing this song called "Will You Miss Me," and I've been and it's going to be hard to believe, but I've been well lubricated at many of parties from time to time, and somebody, some old head friend will be like, "Hey, let's do that. Will you miss me?" Because it's got on that recording, it has the best, and I've heard all the stuff. I've heard it all in the bluegrass world, but it's got the best 4-part harmony ending on it of anything I've ever heard in my life. Live. And it's as tight as Dick's Hat Band, man. It's tremendous, but
when did Keith die? 89?
Oh, no, it would have been,
maybe 93. 93 jumps out at me. I don't know.
I was trying to think. I graduated in 89, and I got a lot of mileage out of those Keith Whitley songs, if you know what I'm saying.
89.
Okay, so yeah.
I was a young man of 9 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Well, I really didn't discover him until after he died. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, it was kind of the same way with, I was kind of like that in a lot of ways. Let me ask you this question. Did you all always, were you from a musical house? Was there music playing, or how do you remember getting music as a young man,
Absolutely. We always had an old Framus banjo sitting in the corner of the den downstairs, and it's your typical, I guess our house was built probably in 64, brick rancher, finished basement.
Formal living room.
The most beautiful, the most beautiful shag carpet you've ever seen down there in the basement. Bar, pool table, console record player.
Sliding glass door inside of it, I bet.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like every house in River Shores Estate where I grew up, basically.
But I remember always music. It's and really at my house it was more George and Tammy.
Yeah.
The old Porter Wagner and Dolly records. Yeah. That stuff is really what I cut my teeth on, what we heard all the time around the house. And my dad picked the banjo a little bit. But, they told me this a long time ago, if you're going to be a really good car salesman, it's hard to be good at anything else. So I had to, I guess, kind of rustle up my chops early because I knew what I was getting into. And that I really wanted to see where all of that would go. And ultimately, where it led me was to having a lot of great friends.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, yes, music was always a big part of my life, whether it be even at church. I remember the hair standing up on my arms singing hymns and whenever somebody'd really be getting after it.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I'm assuming you grew up here since he coached you.
Yes, correct.
Up in this area or?
Yeah, no, I'm out of, we're still in Strawberry Plains in the 37871 zip code. So over on Cooper Road, I was about a mile and a half from Carter High School. Rode our bicycles to Carter Pool.
Okay. Which ain't an easy ride, really. It's kind of uphill.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We walked back home or caught a ride a lot of times, too, to get back to the house.
Yeah.
You can get down there pretty easily.
Right.
Yeah.
And then whenever BFI came in and bought a bunch of land on the backside of Carter School Road, we would slip through the woods there and go over to the pool.
Mm-hmm. Well, so was there anybody else in the family, uncles, cousins, Aunt Betty's brothers, nephews, kid that were that was a musical family, or
no, not really at all
that you remembered or knew of?
No, there weren't really any other musicians in the family. My grandmother on my dad's side, Mamaw Griffin, she was a wit. And there were a lot of artists in the Witt family, painters.
Okay.
So there's actually a portrait of Rutherford B. Hayes that was painted by a Witt that hung in the White House for years.
Wow.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah, and then
about that?
and my dad's an exceptional painter as well.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people
Never
would
knew
never know that
that.
about old Phil.
Never knew that. Well, how interesting is that? I would, I got some good stories about your dad. And stories we can tell.
Yes.
That are good spirited and good hearted stories. He was always, well, we'll get it out of the
So,
way.
I mean, back to what I was saying. You went to Carter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, born and bred.
Yeah. all right.
Yeah. That's
Well,
where, me and Beaty, we coached Carter. It was a Carter football
okay,
team.
Carter. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess were you guys now was Kevin Griffin? He would probably be the cousin closest
think
to your all's
he
age.
was-
And of course, he was a football player.
Yeah, I think he was just a little bit older. I think he was maybe a couple years older.
Yeah, I don't
than
recall
me.
Okay.
that name. Because you
I think-
graduated when?
I graduated in 89,
Okay.
and I believe I remember that name, and I remember him. Dark hair, played ball,
Yeah.
big guy. Best I can remember.
Yeah, he's the meanest of the Griffins. if you were wondering, well, I don't know. Of course, my dad's got a reputation for getting hot too.
yeah.
That's why he paints. Calm
Yeah.
that shit down.
Yeah.
I can relate with that. I'm not a good painter, but I do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I remember that name because, and here's how I remember that and why I know he was older, because so in 8th grade, I got picked to be in the marching band and the concert band and for high school. So I was at all those football games,
Okay.
and basketball games, and pep band, and the marching band, and of course during concert season and everything. But the other reason, my freshman year was the year they went 10-0.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
and I was at obviously at every game.
sure.
So that's why I remember that name.
Yeah.
But I believe he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was either senior when I was a freshman or he was junior, senior when I was 8th grade. So we're a couple years apart. In
And
age,
that's
I would think.
probably right because
It seems right to me.
all of the juniors, my dad had 2 brothers, Steve and Stanley, or has currently. But they all had sons within 6 months of each other, their first children. And so they're all juniors. And all 3 of those guys.
Was each one bigger than the other one?
Yeah, right.
I'll show 'em.
Biggest, right? So all those guys graduated in 84.
Okay.
So Phil, Stephen, and Stanley,
Okay.
or Stasio.
Yeah.
So that would make sense that
Yeah.
Kevin was maybe around 86, 88.
I think that's right. Like I said, I definitely remember the name, and I knew he was a ball player, so that would be the way I would probably tie that together. Because when we had that year of being undefeated, and then got shellacked. By
let's be clear. Undefeated in the regular season.
Well, and for Carter at that time, it's the first time it had happened since like 56 or 7.
Oh, absolutely. That was strong
so it
medicine
was,
right
yeah.
there.
Yeah, well, and you just got, ESPN's just come out. We just got cable TV and mascot. So
Sure.
it was a big deal.
Well, it was a big deal in middle school.
The
'cause I
sneaker game had just got strong,
I was in middle school
Yeah.
at 6th grade, and it was a big deal there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lady in the lunch line was Gabe Black's mama,
Mm-hmm.
who I think is cousin to Susanna Black in that crowd,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and her brother was on that team.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Mr. Carter High School, basically.
Yeah. So,
I think he
and
was
and she really took to me because me and Gabe were in homeroom together, but she would always talk about, we got a big game tonight and whatever. So it was a big deal to us over there.
And this is going to be weird, but for whatever reason, I think one of the reasons I remember Kevin is because his football number was either 64 or 54.
Okay.
I believe.
I would imagine it was probably 64. Philip was 63.
Okay.
My brother. So I think they kind of tried to coordinate over the years.
So that would be, I'm pretty sure because I knew that was.
So he's a lineman.
Yeah, back in the day, I was always because that was Jim Hacksaw Reynolds' number that played with the Niners way back in the day. It played at UT.
Was what number?
64.
But he was a linebacker, right?
Yeah, but it's NFL.
Oh,
Not
gotcha.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
but for some reason, I don't know. That's just one of those weird things.
Sure.
But I knew your dad liked music, but I didn't have any idea that he was artistic in that way, or a lover of the arts, other than just being a casual music fan.
Sure.
That's really cool.
what kind of painting does he do? Is it like?
Well, he first got into art, and I don't know if it was just a serendipitous thing or if he sought out.
That's the biggest word that's ever been used in this honky tonk. Right there.
or if he kind of sought out the outlet or where it came from. But he told me once that he first started trying to draw the really anatomically correct animals that were in the old Bibles that were illustrated. So there's no telling where that could have gone.
Sure.
With the anatomically correct, he might have been trying to draw anatomically correct pictures for his classmates, but no, with the mules and the donkeys and things was really where he first got started.
How about that? Well, Phil was always really, really good to me, man. He was I'd say he was, and I shouldn't say that. Back then, he was very, he just didn't, there wasn't no wasted words with Phil.
Sure.
And when things were said, then they usually had some correlation or direct meaning behind them, or they were important.
I like Phil.
Yeah. And, but I was a young man. I didn't know, sick 'em from go. And,
Right.
Especially about the car business or anything like that. And, I was a young, dad, and, we only had one vehicle at one point in time. And, your dad drove me home several nights, when I'd have to close or be a late night or something like
Sure.
that. And, it was always, you're doing good. You're welcome. How's that baby? It was just, it was like, he was really good to me. So one night we're there and it's getting late and there's an old fella come in. No, that's not right. That's not the way it went at all. There was an old fella come in. He was driving like maybe a 70, 68, 70, 72 Chevrolet long bed truck. You know this story?
No.
Maybe.
No, I grin because so many of my own stories start off this way.
Well, I was just, I was hungry, so I didn't qualify. I wasn't a hawk.
Sure.
But I would talk to everybody, I could talk to everybody. And I went out and talked to this old man. He had a big old chew in, spit. Looked like something off of, the Naked Gun when they had the spitting scene at the baseball. And none of those, I would just, none of the other boys there at the time would go up and talk to the old man. He had his bibs on and, old farm truck. I mean, that's all it was. I was like, how you doing today? He said, I'm doing all right. And I said, you looking for new or pre-owned? And he's like,
textbook.
Yeah, it was like, I'm going to buy me a truck. And I said, what are you looking for? You looking for something to replace this? Is your farm truck? I imagine you're a farmer and this is your farm truck.
I just want to make something to interject here because I haven't been a smart ass in like 7 minutes. So,
oh, great.
This is
things to look forward to.
This was happening at Beaty Chevrolet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was there to buy a real truck. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
He was there to buy a truck.
Yeah. He wasn't over at the Ford dealership.
No.
Okay, good.
I wasn't there.
One for me. One for me.
Any rate, are you done?
I'm done.
Yes, you are. So I started talking to him and, he's like, yeah, I'm going to get me. He said, no, I'm going to still use this in the farm. And, the whole time he's just chewing the hell out of that tobacco, Well, at the time I dipped, and I didn't normally do that in front of customers or anything, or if I did, I'd hide it or I'd sneak around,
Sure. Oh, absolutely. I've been there.
Right. Well, when I seen him doing that, I was like, I'm just going to get down on this old man's level. I've been wanting to dip anyway. And I just packed it up, put me a big dip in. I said, well, let's walk back this way. So we got to walk, we walked back through there and everything.
Mascot mating call right there.
Got to talking. Yeah. And before you knew it, for whatever reason, he's going to trade his old truck in.
Okay.
And I said, okay. So I went in. Phil was working the desk. And I said, I got a trade in to look at, Phil. Let's go drive one. He said, oh, you betcha, or whatever it was, And he come out there and we got in there and we got in that old truck. There's a shoebox laying down on the floorboard.
I love this.
And, Phil just this stoic and quiet and never, driving. Pretty nice old truck. I mean, it's a farm truck, blah, blah, blah. We take off, we drive around the thing and we get down the road and he looks at me and he says, that big smile and that grin. And he looks at me and goes, what do you reckon's in that shoebox there? I said, I don't know, but I've been dying to find out. And he says, you think you ought to be looking in there? I said, probably not. I said, but I sure want to. He said, yeah, me too. He said, let's see what's in there, And it's just like, so I reached down there and opened the lid, and and there's a wad. A stack of cash.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
And I couldn't believe the old man had left.
Sure.
He left. Either he forgot it or he trusted me or I don't know.
Yeah.
But I could not believe it.
Well, I'm surprised there wasn't a 38 laying in there with it.
There was a 38 laying on top of the stack of money. That's the God's honest truth. And Phil just smiled. I was like, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know shit from apple butter,
Sure.
It just was like, he goes, well, let's put the lid back on that. And I said, okay. So we got back and lo and behold, that old man come in there and bought a brand new 2-wheel drive long bed
With a shoebox of
truck
cash.
with a shoebox full of cash and pig shit on his feet and everything else. And I never judged him. And your dad congratulated me. He said, I seen all that go down. And he was like, you were the only one that didn't judge that old man. And he said, and you made you some money today, didn't you? And I said, yes, sir. And so that was just one of those I can remember like it was yesterday.
Oh, absolutely. I've had so many of those experiences at Beatty's and with my dad in particular, and I remember one of those instances is why I mentioned the 38. There was an old guy, Red Bridges, that we sold for years that owned a cabinet shop in Crossville.
I recognize that name.
And that's what Red would come in with a shoebox and that pistol. And it may have even been the same guy.
Maybe, and I don't
for
know.
years. And he would bring that shoebox and his pistol, and he'd come in and trade trucks every time.
Yeah.
There were a couple of guys out of Jefferson County over in Straw Plains, the Manleys, that we used to trade with all the time.
Yeah.
Same deal. Shit up to their knees, overalls on every time,
Yeah.
and just bib full of cash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every time I had an old guy. Now this guy Ted Orr out of Robbins, North Carolina, that just recently passed away. He had such a great relationship with my dad that at 19, 20 years old, he would call and tell me what kind of vehicle he wanted. Dad would send me up there with the book. You know, back then you didn't have a phone or anything to appraise vehicles, but you had a little book that you'd flip through and find the year model.
Yeah.
And I'd go up there and appraise his trade, call back to the store, and they would tell me what the taxes were and what I needed to collect. And I'd take all the blank paperwork. And, you know, Ted lived on the side of a mountain there in Robbins, North Carolina. He told me once that all of his cattle had one leg shorter than the other because they grazed on those hills.
Yeah. My dad used that old story one time.
But just a great guy. And he would fish a billfold out from on top of the mantle.
Wow.
You know, count me out a couple of $1,000s. He'd pull one out of the bib, count out a few thousand, pull one out from under the chair in the living room, and send me home with $15,000, $20,000 worth of cash and an old beat up truck.
That's funny.
It was great, you know, and those guys have built so many relationships like that over the years. That it's really staggering, all of the people.
Well, so I got a couple more stories, and we'll get back to story time for sure. But since you left us out at that point, when did Beaty start? Not just for like your family, but you know. Yeah,
correct. So this is the 91st year of business for Beaty Chevrolet. So Beaty's began as a used car dealership here in Knoxville. Sam and Joe Beaty started the business back then. And I can't do the math really quickly, but
that's all right.
91 years ago. I think it was about the same time that the SEC was formed, coincidentally.
But been 33. So.
Yeah. So we're downtown Knoxville. Started out as a used car dealership. And then 2-3 years later, they had the opportunity to get the Chevrolet franchise and jumped on it. And it was all over with from then. You know, interestingly enough, in the beginning, the Beatys were 7-day Adventists.
Okay.
So Beaty Chevrolet was never opened on a Saturday.
Right.
For 30 some odd years.
Wow.
But were they open on Sunday?
Yes.
And
absolutely.
Not many other people were.
No.
That probably helped.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, you know, you think about that. It's
still that way. A lot of them are closed on. Are y'all closed on Sunday now?
We're closed on Sunday. Yeah. We've tried being open, but you don't sell any more cars. You know, it's better to give people some time with their family.
Yeah. Well, how did the Griffin family happen into the Sam and Joe Beaty and the?
So I guess everything really kind of matriculates back to my grandfather.
Second biggest word,
Ralph Griffin,
made famous by Hank Stram, as the Chiefs would matriculate the ball down the field against the Green Bay Packers.
Yes. So Granddaddy,
that's where he learned it. Hey, he ain't that smart.
I just pick up things that I hear, you know, context clues and
go
file
on
them away like a sponge.
Yeah. Go on, man.
So anyway, Granddaddy got into the car business, I guess in the late 50s, you know, sold Fords. He worked for Hull Dobbs, which was out of Memphis. They were kind of, if you're familiar with the car business, they were like the Terry Taylor group of their time. So in town, Terry Taylor owns the Ted Russell stores, owns Toyota of Knoxville, owns 400 dealerships across the country. But Hull Dobbs was the biggest franchise then, turned into East Tennessee Ford. But my dad and my Uncle Stanley, who would later get into the car business, they swore that they would never sell cars because it's so demanding. You know, it takes a ton of your time. You're away from the family a lot. but as luck would have it, about, I guess, around 1964, my dad was working in the zinc mines out here. And then, interesting story, East Tennessee is the only place you can mine lead-free zinc in the world. It looks like veins of gold in the rock. And my Uncle Stanley was working at the Standard Knitting Mill, along with a couple hundred of other people.
Yep.
At the time.
My grandmother being one of them back in the day.
Yeah, and so they started having
every other person's grandma.
Oh,
grandpa.
yeah, exactly. Started having families and figured they needed to do something a little safer. So my Uncle Stanley went to work at East Tennessee Ford with my grandfather. And then around that time, my dad was working was still working at the zinc mines, and he'd gotten laid off. And my Uncle Stanley had become the used car manager. And he said, we need a truck manager down here. So he said, wear a shirt and tie, come in here Monday morning, and we'll put you to work. And the rest is history there. Yeah.
I'd forgotten Phil worked in the mines.
Yeah. So around, I guess it was around 1978 or so, my Uncle Stanley started wanting to be an owner and get into the car business himself. Got some backing from some guys there, Cecil Courtney and some other guys, or Cecil Mullins. And they started looking for a franchise. And so they were about to sign the papers to buy Bergen Dodge, or what would become Bergen Dodge. I guess it was Cliff Dodge at the time.
Yeah.
And they got cold feet for whatever reason and backed out. And so here they were at the time with all this money that they'd gotten together to buy the dealership, and they had no dealership to buy. And so they heard that Sam and Joe might be amiable, and they approached them with the offer, and they ended up buying Beaty's right. I guess it was right near the end of 1978. It was in January or so when they bought the business.
Golly, man.
Here's the kicker. When did they move?
1988, Mother's Day.
It was only in 10 years. And I remember this just from happenstance, from the scuttlebutt around, whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, so 10 years, not that long, as we know now, getting older, but then decided that they're going to take this iconic brand, place, business that everybody knew and their brother knew, and move west before anything was down there. And everybody said Stanley was crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure you've heard a bunch of those stories.
What I was laughing about, though, is that what kind of balls it takes to buy a car dealership in 1978 when gas is $4 a gallon.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And it doesn't say Datsun on it.
Yeah, the worst economy in 50 years. You're like, hey, let's go buy a car dealership.
I got an idea.
Yes. Well, and that was the thing about it,
Trucker's
too.
Lane then, though.
It was indeed Trucker's Lane. The first muzzle loaders we ever bought, we sighted in right there on what is Parkside Drive now.
Yeah.
Shooting back towards the interstate.
It's like that lady told me in Gatlinburg. She said, honey, 10 years ago, you could have fired a cannonball down Main Street. Trucker's Lane. Yeah.
And how, that was, I remember that just, like I said, through the scuttlebutt, but everybody was just like, they're crazy.
Well, and if you remember the old showroom there, it was like a warehouse.
Yeah.
We had, 40-foot ceilings in there?
Yeah.
And that was Cecil Mullen, one of the original partners. That was his idea, was that if they were going to build this building, to build it in a way that if they didn't succeed, they could rent this place as a warehouse. And it would be multifunctional.
Cecil Mullen, Bill Mullen's brother.
I don't know.
Yeah, Bill Mullen.
Yeah,
Bill. He's over there in Prosser.
That could have.
Seems logical
if
he's
kidding.
thinking
warehouse.
If he's thinking warehouse.
Thinking warehousey.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and so now we've got 14 acres on what was Trucker's Lane back then, and brand new, beautiful warehouse type showroom. And here we are getting ready to sell some cars. And
I hadn't been down there in a few years. I think it was 12 acres back in the day, or that's whatever reason I remember.
Sure.
I mean, it's now the airport, the new airport motor mile.
Well, yeah. And
88, y'all were really competing with them, weren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
And then a lot of small-minded folks were like, well, they're gonna, if they're, you're gonna be in competition with all those people, and this, that, and the other. And by being the first, they all got to drive by you.
Oh, it was really
to get to all those, and
a stroke of genius.
It really was. Now, obviously, I was not at the age. I mean, I could care less.
Sure.
I was worried about, high school things at that point in time. But I remember it coming across the desk, and then working there years and years later, I was just like, wow, okay, so this didn't seem like a dumb idea after all,
No, and, as you see that stuff come together over the years, you just realize, I remember my mom's company, she's a partner and was the CFO at Schaffner Mechanical for 40 years.
Okay.
And I remember them building that, is that the Park West that's out there right at the beginning of Turkey Creek? Around 1998, whenever I was working at Beaty's, selling for the first time and thinking, what in the world could they be building this huge hospital out here for? And now
it's not big enough.
No, you've got Turkey Creek streaming off of it. And of course, that was another place where it just dead ended right after Park West there.
Well, we've said it many times with other guests, when we would talk about heading west. I remember we had the state every year, the baseball tournaments was west, and it was west of Dixie Lee Junction.
Yep.
And dude, it was like, somebody could have died of dysentery. It was like being on the damn Oregon Trail. I mean, you had the interstate, but there was no exits.
Sure.
So to get all the way down past that, you had to get off at like the old West Hills exit or paper mill, and then you were 2-lane or 4-lane. Yeah, and then it went to 2-lane forever.
Yeah.
By the time you got there, you were just like, man, this is in the middle of nowhere.
The marker for us as kids was Brown Squirrel. When you got past Brown Squirrel, you knew you were leaving. And that's past Brown Squirrel.
Absolutely.
Well past Brown Squirrel for sure.
Which went out of business 27 times.
Yeah.
They're still going out of business. Yeah. Here. That's our neighbors, the Cedar Springs Christian Bookstores, adopted the Brown Squirrel model. They're constantly going out of business as well.
Sure have.
I've got some great stories, man, from back in that time. Just so many characters. I never, getting thrown in the deep end and meeting, great people.
Well, it was such a good time, and luckily I got to be there, right on the cusp of things changing. So I still got to work with Don Burris, and
Don was my office mate.
Oh man,
just
one of my favorite people in the world. Tommy Jones, got to work with him.
Okay.
Ron Anderson, some of these guys that were and Mike Kaufman, is a legend in the car business. He was the voice of Beaty Chevrolet.
693-7712.
That's right. You can see us from the interstate.
Yeah.
And just all of those guys, getting to learn from those guys was fantastic. Of course, you've probably heard the tale about Don punching the bear. Many times, just the type of people, I've often described the car business or Beaty Chevrolet, how it was back then, as almost like a little Chinatown. or something. We had a suit guy.
Yeah.
We had a corn liquor guy that would come by. You could buy moonshine. You could buy weapons. You
look around every once in a while, and Charlie the Weasel would come through.
Oh, absolutely.
Because those guys, we won't say what guys. You're welcome. Loved the bookie. Way before FanDuel or anything like that.
Uncle Charlie.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Uncle Charlie, come on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
I remember vividly my mom and my brother loved to gamble on NFL football. So we'd go to church at Trentville on Sunday. We'd maybe roll down to Helma's or come back home and have dinner at the house. And, I'd lay there on that big old 1972 smiley face pillow in the middle of the floor. And for whatever reason, they loved to bet for or against Bobby Hebert and the New Orleans Saints back then. And I think they were big on the over and the under.
Yeah.
They'd like to bet the totals. And gosh, who was the quarterback of the Falcons at that time? Was it Jim Miller?
Bartkowski. Well, it would have been Bartkowski would have been a little earlier than that. Chris Miller.
Yes, Chris Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the two terrible teams that they loved to gamble on. For whatever reason, they thought they'd found their niche there on those guys. So I'd sit there on the floor, on my, with my face propped up on my hands like a 1950s album cover, some sort of compilation. Eating fried chicken and watching NFL football with my...
Man, life was pretty good, wasn't it?
Oh, man. And it was... I remember him going in the... Yeah, it was so much simpler. Then I remember him going in there to the kitchen, right? And you've got about 100-foot cord on that phone that's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Where you can walk all around and, calling Uncle Charlie and calling those bets in.
Another reason they watched them, bet on them, is because that's who they got to watch, because the Falcons were the market team.
Well, that's true.
No, that's a great point. I guess that's never really even dawned on me there.
And they had to play the
Saints. Still were.
They had to play the Saints twice because they're in the same division.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, so there's nothing that can make me want to go play in traffic any quicker than be set down and forced to watch that Titans football game.
Oh, my God. That'd be in hell with my back, bro.
It's insufferable at this point.
The coldest I've ever been was at a Titans football game.
So
guy used to work for me. He was the biggest Giants fan in the world. It's like, let's go to Giants. So we all pile up in the car, go out to Nashville. We sit on the shady side. Sit on the shady side in November. Man, it was cold.
Mm-hmm.
And the Titans suck. They're the Oilers. Listen.
Yeah.
You should have changed your colors. I might have gone with you.
You should have kept the Oilers.
Kept the Oilers.
No, here.
Love the Oilers, man.
I'll second that emotion for sure.
I remember, back in the day, I remember seeing Bum Phillips coach on the sidelines and Love You Blue and all that from back in the day in the Superdome. Or no, Astrodome. I had it right.
Well, some of my earliest
funny cold weather story, and you brought this up and it reminded me of it. So Don Burris, God rest his soul. Don, he was this gentle giant, could pick up a dinner plate with one, could palm it, just had
literally,
like had these big bear.
Some bitch had a root on him too. Is the word on the street.
Well, now I'm not worried about it. Say whatever the fuck you want to say. But so any rate. Again, young and everybody kind of knew back then, even because I'd bring my banjo in sometimes and sit in the break room. I'd play and this one would come, and Don loved it, and I turned him on to WDVX and Sopping the Gravy back when Shane Timon and Benny Smith and Tony, they all did that show from up in La Follette and all that.
Yeah, up in the camper.
Yeah, and Sopping the Gravy was even before the camper.
Okay.
And so I got turned, Don loved it. Loved bluegrass music and, in wintertime down there, it's cold, man. I mean, it's like what you were saying with the Titans game. It's all a shady side, you know, and
there's nothing to stop the wind.
No, it's like being in Nebraska. It's just flat, you know, and you walk down an aisle of those cars and you're just, you know, it's just cutting through there like alleys, you know, and
I've been there many times.
Yeah. So one night, I think they had just started the Bluegrass Special, which came on Thursday night. Still does, by the way, on 89.9 WDVX or 102.9 WDVX Knoxville.
Or anywhere we get your podcast.
Or WDVX.com. Yes, correct. So, and Don and I, he come through there one night and it was, you know, it's dead. Nothing happening, nothing going on. He come by there and he said, "Hey, little buddy," you know, he talked like Baloo the bear off
Here's
the Jungle Book.
plate.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
"Hey, little buddy, I'm gonna show you something. Come with me. Get your coat, bundle up." I said, "Okay." We walked all the way down to the west corner, and back then they had all the conversion vans down there.
Yeah.
The Explorers, you know, that was the company that did the package on it. So we walked down there and he got in that van. He's cranked that, you know, turned it over, and he had already had the heat going, you know, so we got in and it's warm, toasty, and radio was on, and that was about the only place on the lot, you know, that you could really pick DVX good up then, because they didn't have the other broadcast towers to help with the signal, right? And we'd sit down there and listen from like 8 o'clock to 9 till it was time to close, or if it was really dead, longer, you know.
Sure.
And we'd sit down there and listen to the radio. Well, one night we went down there and he said, "I just can't get warm." He said, "Are you still cold?" And I said, "No, Don, I'm comfortable." He said, "I bet you're still cold a little bit, ain't you?" And I said, No, Don, I feel, I mean, really, you got it nice and warm, and it's just dumb. I didn't know nothing, right? And next thing I know, we drive down to McScrooge's
Yes.
and get a pint of schnapps, and we come back and we sit there and drink schnapps, listening to the Bluegrass Special or whatever the hell it was at that point in time. He said, "I believe I'm warming up." But man, you know, I've been thinking about it ever since we said ever since you agreed to come on, and I just started really trying to think of a bunch of those things that was fun, and you know, even shaped you in some way or another. You know, you didn't know maybe how or why back in those times, but
sure, and that's
good times.
You know, it's people are so different now.
Oh,
too, that you know, I try to relate with some of these younger employees that we have now, and in some of those ways, and impart some of the wisdom. And a lot of times, when you do that with an employee, is when you're appraising the trade in.
Yeah,
you know, it.
Wonder what's in that box.
Yeah, exactly. My dad would always say, "So what's this fella do for a living?"
Yeah.
You know, and what he's doing is teaching you to find out.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you didn't want to answer him, so I don't know.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You know, and you really get to know these guys so much that are working for you when you're doing that. And they've always really fostered a really family environment there. So we treat each other like family, and you know, you spend so much time with each other anyway.
God. But I think back then, you know, it was you definitely got one day off, and maybe two, but the rest of it was. I don't even think we did early days back then. I can't remember. I mean,
well,
but it was. We might have.
When I first started in '98, you would work from 9 to 5 one day and then you would work from 9 to 9 the next.
Maybe that's what it was.
And one of your 9 to 5 days would be your day off. But if you took the day off, or at least with me, I was going to get 15 phone calls and see where I was. You know, I had to be in
15
there.
lashes.
Yes, exactly.
Of browbeating.
Oh, 100%.
Well, I sold 37 cars yesterday. Yeah, but what have you done today?
Absolutely. You know, that's
that one.
I remember Dad saying, well, you know, if you're going to be man enough to stay out all night, you better be man enough to get up and come to work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's
that too.
And I've tried to abide by that over the years.
Yeah. Well, this, no, go ahead.
I was going to say the schedule that we have now, I would never be able to survive because the guys work. We've got 3 shifts, so one shift will come in.
Oh wow!
From 9 until 5, and then the next 2 shifts will come in at 12 and work until 8. So if I could tabulate my evening in a way according to me having to be at work at 12 instead of at 9 a.m., I would be a dead man at this point.
Yeah.
I would have never made it.
Yeah.
So it's gotten a lot different over the years. You know, we don't wear suits anymore. No more shirt and ties. And I still feel like I'm getting away with something.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I remember that. You know, if you the first one to 10 and/or salesman of the month, you know, back in the day, you got a suit made at Coachman.
Yeah, you'd win a suit.
Yeah, you won a brand new suit, and you know, I always aspired to be that first guy, you know, to try.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's hard to believe. I mean, a lot of things are hard to believe as we get older and
no kidding
changing. But yeah, I had to go you know, when I worked, I was telling Jamie the other night, I said, you know, I couldn't afford, you know, when I first started there, I couldn't afford dry cleaning. So I did my laundry. I starched my own shirts. I pressed my pants. I mean, to this day, you need something iron, holler at McGill.
Yeah.
I'll set up a dry cleaning shop here in the honky tonk.
Well, no, and
but it was necessity.
Oh, absolutely. You know? And I remember, and it wasn't just you either. And of course, this was later, but I remember.
You graduate from that.
I remember my mom telling me about, you know, one of those times as a young up and coming car salesman, not having any money or whatever, you know, the last thing I ever wanted to do was ask them for any money at all.
Sure.
I'd go buy a tin of Kite rolling tobacco and some papers just so I could smoke all week when I didn't have any money. But I remember her telling me that my dad would put Monopoly money in his billfold so that it wouldn't look like he didn't have any money. And he would hope that my Uncle Stanley would take him to lunch that day. You know, and that was back when they had put everything they had into becoming partners and to starting the business, and were putting everything they made back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So it was a long time before they really had any money. And even once they did, you couldn't tell, you know, and that was a great lesson for me.
Well, I think that's one of the things, and we'll say this and get a word from our sponsors real quick. And, but I think that's one thing about those days versus today is today, in a lot of ways, we're so quick to champion someone or some cause or some, you know, person for doing something or, you know, let's say in the music industry, oh my God, have you heard, you know, they're the best ever, you know, and the next thing you know, they're the one hit wonder, or this guy gets put in jail for fucking tax evasion or whatever the hell, right?
Sure.
And it's like, it's because none of those people, and none of them paid their dues.
Yeah.
Those guys and other people of industry and business from back in the day and people, in the music business, you know, remember, when your tour shirts used to say "Coming to a parking lot near you." You know what I mean?
Damn right.
You pay your dues.
Remember when you did the podcast in your honky tonk?
So you think if you didn't have, that's right. You think about it. If you didn't have those things to look back on and to be thankful for the way things are now, how the hell is the things happening now supposed to mean anything more than today was just a good day?
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's lost a little bit nowadays with things, but and that's probably why you couldn't tell, because that's why I never felt embarrassed getting a ride home from your dad.
Sure.
I never was made to feel because I starched my own, I did my own laundry, or I was that's part of those reasons why, is because they knew what it was like too, and they came from that.
Absolutely.
And knows that hard work got them through and where they are. So, but let's take just a short break. We want to tell you, make sure to just remind real quickly about the December 22nd at the Bijou Theater from 7 to 9 p.m. The 12th annual Mike McGill's Christmas Spectacular. We got lots of people to thank for that this year. And one is the Blom Shop, as well as Lost and Found Records, Trailhead Beer Market, Riot Printing, Harvey's Pizza and Deli, and our very good friend, Josh Griffin, and all the fine folks at Beaty Chevrolet. So we'll be right back. Check out the commercial.
Hello, music lovers. Campbell's Music Room Guitars was opened and founded by our longtime friend Kyle Campbell back in 2017. If you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, you're always needing something. From strings, picks, or maybe a repair to your trusty instrument. Campbell's Music Room Guitars has a full line of all the stringed instruments. New and pre-owned, accessories, pedals, amplifiers, and here's the best part. It's a local, family-owned business where you will get the very best of sales and service from the owner himself. Campbell's Music Room Guitars has something for everyone. Did we mention that he also gives private lessons? Kyle is one of Knoxville's most multi-talented players and teachers with many years of professional teaching experience. Located at 5103 Kingston Pike, open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Give Kyle a call at 865-584-0041 or stop by and tell him McGill and Jamie sent you and you wanted to have one more for the good guys.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We had to reset, pause for the calls, all that good stuff. We're with our good guest, Mr. Josh Griffin from Beaty Chevrolet, one of the sponsors of this year's 12th annual Mike McGill Christmas Spectacular. And we're glad to have him, a hometown boy, back here in the honky tonk. So I got a good story on Stanley.
Okay.
You want to hear that one?
Absolutely.
This is a pretty good one. Now, Stanley always was kind of like that, look busy, Jesus is coming. You know, that kind of guy, right?
Favorite bumper sticker.
Huh?
His favorite bumper sticker of mine is, look busy, or Jesus is coming, look busy.
Yeah. And so one year we're down there, and Phil was always, you just you always wanted to look busy around Phil as well, but he was you seen Phil. He was in the trench with you, right?
Yes.
So it was more like a general colonel or general, commanding officer, or you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So we're there one day, and I can't even remember who all was there now. I could call off some names probably. But Ted Russell drives in. And I didn't know Ted Russell from Teddy Keebler. You know, I didn't know nothing. We've established this already, right? So, and I asked one of the boys, I was like, who's that? And he was in a 65 blue Mustang convertible.
Yeah, so made an entrance.
Made an entrance, of course.
Yeah, I've never got to meet Ted.
Yeah, well, he made an entrance, and like I said, and I said, "Who is that?" And it was one of the older guys that was there. It was out in the front with us that day. He said, "Oh, it's Ted Russell. That's that sumbitch Ted Russell, or something like that." You know? I said, "Oh, I was like, you know," and again, being pretty naive, I was just like, what's he doing here? A 40? I had a Chevrolet lot, you know. I mean, it wasn't like it was
I didn't needed a tow.
It wasn't like it's Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhart or something, you know.
It feels like that,
but it feels like that, right? And one of the guys goes up, "Hey, can we help you find somebody?" He said, "Oh, well, where the fuck Stanley?" You know, or something like that.
Sure.
"Oh, yeah, right this way, sir." So they walk in. Of course, he goes back to the office and everything, and then of course, you know, you hear all the whispers and the thises and the that. You know, Stosh may remember this. I can't remember who I was in. I want to say it was like Mike Rudder and
oh yeah, maybe Ronnie Dillinger, perhaps.
Well, Ronnie was a manager at the time,
okay.
So he wasn't on the sales floor, but you know, very well could have been.
Sure,
I mean, you know Dillinger. Call it, heads or tails, right? And well, they went over there and they went to the I don't know if it's still like this or not, but like the detail shop was right there next to the parts department.
Correct. Yeah, still in place.
I imagine. They went over there, and if they got one Beaty Chevrolet sticker, they got 1,000 Beaty Chevrolet stickers and put those all across the axle of that Ford Mustang.
Are you shitting?
The bumper, the deck. I mean, not where he could have seen them, but like the lip on the back of the trunk, the bumper, down around the splash guard of the down below the bumper. Like I said, if there was one, there was 1,000. He come out, you know, got in the car, you know, burn out the whole day. I mean, he's, you know.
Sure. Now, was Ted Russell right down the road yet?
No.
Okay.
He was.
So
not.
He was up on Kingston Pike,
yes,
probably.
He was still on. That was the only store they had. They
up there by the Shoney's.
Now, I don't even think it was even. Yes. And I don't even think they were building that yet.
Oh, it probably wasn't.
I mean, like
Tony's VIP was probably still down there where Ted Russell is now.
Right. So,
Tony.
Get the papers. Got to get the papers. So he leaves, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm getting the hell out of here. I didn't have nothing to do with this. About 20 minutes goes by.
Comes that Mustang.
Stanley comes walking out. Which one of you sons of bitches did it? And that's didn't say, why'd you do this act, just which one of you sons of bitches did it? And I don't know. There was 2 or 3 of, like I said, the older guys that had been there a long time. They just started snickering. And then it caught whether Stanley was there or not. And just everybody started busting out laughing. And he said, well, it's a damn shame nobody admitted up to it. He said, because I'd probably give the man $100 bill that did it. That's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. And turned around and walked right back in. Nobody got in trouble. No, nothing. But yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It was really something else. But yeah.
I'd love to have heard that phone call.
Oh my God.
If I can't get these fucking stickers off here,
I can't believe you.
Yeah, paint job, so and so.
Damn criminals, goddamn ex-convicts down there selling cars. Can't trust them to.
Well, like I said, it was like Chinatown.
We talked. He mentioned it a while ago, but we talked about this in a previous episode. So, growing up in a Chevy household,
Yes, sir.
right? You couldn't have gone to a better high school.
Oh, no.
Because when we were coming up, which was 6-7 years before you, NASCAR was still huge, and man, you had to pick a side. You were either Dale Earnhardt man or you're Bill Elliott man, and you wasn't no damn in between nothing. That was your two options. And Ford man over here.
Well, I got 3 words for you. Fuck Dale Earnhardt. Right there, you see who's
If I was going to start a racing team, I hate that son of a bitch, but I'd start him with Dale Earnhardt.
Well, no, I totally would.
Yeah,
he was the best.
That's right.
But man, I'll tell you the
Intimidator.
The story. The '79 Daytona 500. Y'all know the story behind all that?
I just know that Dale didn't win.
No, he won Rookie of the Year that year, though.
Now this is like Wrangler car Dale era.
Yeah, this is still Wrangler. Bobby Allison was in the Hawaiian. Donnie Allison was driving Hawaiian Tropic Oldsmobile.
Okay.
This is back in the day.
Round headlight Monte Carlo.
Buddy
race.
Baker, Benny Parsons, David Pearson, those guys were still racing.
Well before my time, but those ghosts were hanging around my whole life being in that house.
Yeah. Yeah. And so 79 Daytona 500, and y'all can fact check me on this. So it was obviously, it's ran in February, right? And CBS Sports had just signed a big contract with the NBA, as well as I think they were carrying Big East games on Sundays and golf.
This was 79.
79.
Yeah.
And this was if you didn't watch NBA, then their program went to college basketball. And if you didn't watch college basketball on CBS, their programming was a golf
79
event.
was a great basketball year, though. That was the championship, Michigan and Indiana State, and that's when Bird and Magic came into the league.
So during this time, they've just locked all this big contract up, and it's so from everywhere from Daytona or Florida all the way the entire eastern seaboard. That's what you were going to get. You were either going to get NBA, college basketball, or golf, depending upon. Well, guess what had happened? There was a huge blizzard, snowstorm came through and shut down the entire mid-Atlantic area and the Northeast. Everything was canceled. They couldn't get to the arenas. They couldn't do this. And all of the local feeds with satellites had shit to bed. The only thing else CBS could cover was the
NASCAR.
Daytona 500, NASCAR.
Wow.
So
they weren't going to cut. They don't.
No.
And so the Daytona 500 wasn't always the Daytona 500?
Well, it was.
It had a prime spot?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. It was always what it was to race fans, but as far as being this two-headed monster, it got to be in the 90s.
Sure.
And,
so a
and I guess
snowstorm put it on the map then.
Yeah, and we're getting there. So, and the absolute luckiest break in the world. So you got Richard Petty going for his 200th win.
Oh, wow.
God.
Okay, so they're now
the stage is set already.
The stage is set
drama.
already for high drama. You got Bobby Allison, who's winning everything there is to win. You got Petty going for his 200th. You got the old veteran, the old grizzled veteran, Dave Pearson, who's only racing a limited schedule. He's only racing super speedway stuff. And you got Buddy Baker, Cale Yarborough.
Moss Thornton.
Huh?
Moss Thornton, was he?
May have been. I don't remember that name.
Okay. That was the section we always sat in at Talladega. It was the Moss Thornton section.
Well, this is at Daytona.
Okay.
But any rate, race goes on. Ken Okonomaki, you got Jackie Stewart, who's a retired Indy guy that won everything and in Formula One. And so you got all these, and then there was another guy, I can't remember his name, doesn't matter. But at any rate, you had all this story going on, and this was the first time anything above the Mason-Dixon line was seeing anything about these good old boys down here going over 200 mile an hour, right? No restrictor plates, no laws, it's, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. This is in the day.
Rubbing is racing. So they get all the way up the deal, and it's coming down. It's been fairly uneventful, but it's been a good race, right? Comes down to, I don't know, like the last 3 or 4 laps. You got Cale Yarborough, who's dominated the field all day. You got Donnie Allison, who's running like, you got Donnie Allison, who was probably as good or better than Bobby. He's not as well known in that 90s forward, to this generation.
Now, Bobby Allison died, correct?
Bobby died, and
so that's probably what it was.
He was Davy's dad.
He was the son, okay.
And Donnie was the uncle. Okay, and you had guys like, so Cale Yarborough's and Donnie Allison has beat everybody's ass all day long in Hawaiian Tropic Oldsmobile. Cale Yarborough is running second. Richard Petty's anywhere from 3rd to 7th. He's just kind of hanging around. You got Dave Pearson up there. You got Buddy Baker. Waltrip, I don't know if he had spun out or not. And this new kid, Earnhardt, right?
Intimidator.
Top 10. Fuck off. He's an intimidator yet. No, he didn't even stand up when he pee-peed yet.
He was the timid hater.
Last lap, 79 Daytona 500. They're coming around the tri-oval. Cale Yarborough tries a slingshot move to get around Donnie Allison and wrecks him. Bam, into the wall, down into the infield. And guess the drama unfolds, and guess who ain't run out of gas yet and gets his 200th win, Richard Petty.
Oh,
it's like it comes out of the books, right?
Yeah.
It's meant to be. The next thing you know, I think it was Petty, or it was either Petty or Baker. But I'm pretty sure it's Petty got the win. But, Petty, Baker, Pearson, all, and this kid Earnhardt gets in the top 5. He's racing for Rookie of the Year that year. Next thing you know, they cut the cameras down into the tri-oval where the two guys are spinned out. There's Donnie, there's Cale, who's all about 4'10", and there's Donnie, and they get out, and the next thing you know, here comes I don't think it was the High Life car at that point, but here comes Bobby, pulls in, goes up to Cale, and Donnie and Cale are arguing like crazy. Cale takes a swing, and the next thing you know, Bobby Allison grabs him. And this is the way Bobby Allison tells the story. He said, I just went up to talk to the guy, and he started repeatedly hitting my fist with his face. And they're showing this slug out against, because you've just cost his brother and took away winning the biggest race of ever, the Daytona 500. So that sparked the curiosity and the popularity of NASCAR, because at that point in time, you might have got to see Daytona, Talladega, and Charlotte, and maybe Darlington or Rockingham. Darlington and Rockingham were kind of the ones that alternated. You only got to watch on TV, literally only got to watch 3 or 4 races a year. And the rest of the time, because my dad loved it so much and he was the Ford man.
Yeah.
He listened to MRN. He listened to Radio Network, Motorsports Radio Network. And, but if you go back and you talk to any of them, Junior or any of the guys today or any of the old timers that are still around, they'll tell you right now that a blizzard on the East Coast is what made NASCAR, gave it to and Cale Yarborough repeatedly hitting his face into Bobby Allison's fist is what made NASCAR the big hit that it was. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded to get around to it. But
well, and that sparked a big memory for me whenever you mentioned the MRN radio network.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember like fathers riding around on lawnmowers?
Oh, yeah.
With the big radio headsets.
Big red ones.
Yes, listening to the race.
Yeah.
That's a piece of nostalgia that's not lost on me at all.
Yeah.
Seeing Pap ride around out there.
Yeah.
Listening to the race on Sunday.
Yeah. Dad listened to it all the time. And, and then like I said, the next week, I don't remember where they went to, but CBS started carrying the races. And then you started getting both Daytona races. Then you started getting both Talladegas. You started getting both Atlantas. They added Atlanta.
Then you got the car tomorrow.
Then you
ruined the whole damn thing.
Yeah, it's not the same. I haven't watched it in years. I still check out from time to time. I still listen to the Earnhardt Jr.'s podcast, and because he'll have a lot of those old guys on there, and it just takes me down memory lane. I remember my dad.
Well, I remember
stories
the afternoon that Dale Sr. was killed.
I do too, man.
I had been at Royal Blue with some buddies of mine riding around. I had an 85 Chevrolet K5 Blazer, 35 1250 6-inch Skyjacker lift. And we used to go up there, and a couple of buddies of mine had Scouts.
Yeah.
And we'd go up to Royal Blue and ride around. There was a big, kind of a cul-de-sac campground right down next to the big lake there at Royal Blue. And we'd go out there and drink beer all night. We, we might partake in some nerve pills. I think at the time, the Xanax and the Valium were a hot commodity. We used to have the Certs Minis containers. You would put those guys in, they could live in there. But at any rate, we'd been up there, and I'd given my buddy Lee my spare tire the weekend before. So we were up there, and I got high centered and kind of rolled the tire off the rim of my truck and had to call my dad. So he comes down, and we're sitting in the parking lot of the BP with a couple of buddies of mine and a brand new Z71 demo that he's driven back into the bowels of Royal Blue to rescue us in. And, he always said he wouldn't have a truck he couldn't take anywhere he wanted to. Of course, these vehicles belong to the company and not us either. But so we're sitting there at the BP waiting on my buddy Tiny to bring my tire back to me, my spare tire, so we can get the hell out of there. Listening to the race when Dale Sr. gets killed.
Yeah.
And then about 15 minutes later, here comes Tiny in a MR2 with my spare tire ratchet strapped to the roof and both of the windows down.
In an Toyota MR2.
Well, how are you going to get that 32 1250 down there?
Yeah.
You're going to have to put it on the roof.
That's crazy.
Man, I'll never. Do you remember where you were? You hated Dale Earnhardt.
No, I remember exactly where I was. Fuck off.
We were driving back to Fayetteville from here on
Yeah.
a Sunday on that day, and I got a phone that's before cell phones were. I had one, but nobody called it.
Yeah.
And I had a message on my machine from my buddy Jeff, and he said Dale Earnhardt got killed. I was like, I ain't watched NASCAR since. Not 1 minute of it since 2001.
Yeah, I was making lunch for my daughter, Hannah. She's just a kid.
5 years old.
Yeah, and was sitting there, and it was a beautiful day at home, and I don't know, for whatever reason, and this is weird, but I watched him, all the pre-race stuff, and I had this feeling, and I'm shit you not, I had this feeling about uneasiness. This is not good. Something bad's going to happen. And, I was, we had the race on, I'd watched it, I'd had a nap, everything you do in a NASCAR race when you're on a lazy Sunday at home.
Absolutely.
With your baby, and I had went back into the kitchen. The house I lived in at that time, I had ripped one of the walls out, and I had a double-sided fireplace between the living room and the dining room and the kitchen, so you could go all the way around. It was before HGTV and open concepts. I was just sitting there stoned one night probably, and was like, I think I'm gonna rip that wall out. I'm gonna get some shit done around here. But no, I remember walking back into the kitchen, and I could hear and see the TV from where I was, and I was fixing her a snack. We had already ate dinner and everything, or lunch. And she'd asked me for something, and all of a sudden, trouble coming down the back straightaway to the finish line. Earnhardt's in the wall. Blah, 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 blah. Sterling Marlin, And I don't know, man. Even when it happened, I knew. I just knew, because I'd had that. I don't know what you call it. A premonition or whatever, but
trepidation,
perhaps. But it was just, I was just like, man, he's dead. And it wasn't, hours later, they had confirmed it, and I was just like, holy, which really kind of freaked me out. Like, the hell you doing?
Yeah. What's going on here?
Yeah. I mean, you don't have a hotline. You're not supposed to.
On a lighter note though, how great is it having a little girl? And what happens to you once she gets older? I would have never.
Here's what happened.
Thought that I would love having a daughter as much as I do.
Well, good, because that ain't going to last long. She's the apple of your eye. She's the love of your life. But that little bitch one day is going to break your heart. It's going to happen. Somebody else is coming in, and then somebody else, and somebody else, and somebody else. And in the words of Merle Haggard, the farmer's daughter, he could be the richest man in 7 counties and still not good enough to hold her hand.
Amen.
That's what's coming.
Oh, wow.
I'd love to.
Thanks a lot.
I'd love to sugarcoat it, but that's what's coming.
I appreciate that. Mine's 2.
It's still. Well, you've got a few good years ahead of you. Hey, you ain't got to worry about.
I've got time to enjoy it.
You ain't got to worry about going out and playing in traffic for at least 14 more years, 13 years.
Lord have mercy.
11 years.
No, it's great. But it is true. The little girl will grow into be a woman one day, and you'll always be the same to each other, but it'll be different. Than that. and I don't mean this I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just a matter of fact, is that there's still some of that. Not all of the innocence is lost, but there's innocence that's lost as they get. And I think it would be the same way with the son.
I get it.
It would be the same way with the son. But the bonds that sons and mothers have, and then the bonds that daughters and fathers have, and they're different.
Right.
Like I miss my dad dearly. I lost him 3 years ago, and it can be anything. One day I was sitting there just minding my own business, and a Randy Travis song come on, and I was like, "Fuck you, Randy Travis, mother
son of a bitch."
Yeah. Well, it made me think about my dad.
Yeah,
and but where I'm going with that is I don't know how I'll act when I lose my mom, because my mama was my best friend, still is. So
you'll never act the same. You'll never act the same.
And Jamie, unfortunately, has
I
lost
can tell
his
you,
mom,
it's
different, isn't it?
It's different. Yeah.
So it's kind of, there's nothing more rewarding than knowing you did your job and that you raised somebody to be independent and to be smart and to be a good person and a positive member of society. And there will always be that innocence of, or maybe not innocence, but there'll always be that part of, she's your little girl. I mean,
I could imagine,
walking her down the aisle, I would have rather fought 75 Ric Flairs. You understand what I'm telling you?
Woo.
Not 1, not 10, 75 Ric Flairs. Because it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I don't know if it's, she married a good guy that works hard and is faithful, and they may be getting divorced as we speak. I don't know. Obviously I'm joking, but
sure.
But it was still, fuck. This sucks. It's just different.
I can't imagine. And, that's knowing her mother, that I can imagine, that Millie is going to have some great adventures. My wife has lived all over the world.
Okay.
I met my wife at McLeod's. Do you guys remember McLeod's?
Yeah.
In Market Square?
Yeah.
So Herschel, the guy that owned that joint, put together a deal with us whenever we were just kids and we were playing in that group Oversoul with John, Jamie, and my buddy Walker Henley, probably one of the best bass players to ever come out of Knoxville, Tennessee, out of Memphis to begin with. But we would play there.
So you still play?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's actually the vice president of marketing for Lodge Cast Iron.
Oh, wow.
So if you need a skillet, I got your man.
Yeah. Well,
but at any rate,
it's the only cookware you need.
No kidding, a big old black skillet.
Yeah.
You give me a cast iron skillet and I can cook you anything. Go.
Absolutely.
So we had a regular gig there at McLeod's, and Nicole had gone to school with John at Seymour High School. She was a couple of years younger, and we met. She was maybe 16 or 17 when I met her, and I was in my 20s for the first time. And then we ended up reconnecting, 10 years later, after she had lived all over the world. She had gone to the Czech Republic, to Prague with the University of Tennessee on a study abroad, and gotten talked into staying and teaching English at the university there in Prague, and then had ended up going to Korea, and then South Africa and Australia and Spain, and teaching.
Nice. Lived all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
So I can't imagine what Millie will be into, or Boone, my son for that matter, once they get into those formative years.
Yes.
But, I hope that as parents and the people that we are, and, gosh, I hope that he really doesn't think that you have to behave like an outlaw to write a really good song like I did. and I never wrote one.
Well, here's the other thing you got to look forward to. At that point in time, you're old, you're dumb, and you don't know nothing.
So how old is your son?
So Boone's 9.
Okay.
Millie's 2. And then, so Boone, at 8 months old, was diagnosed with liver cancer.
Oh, no.
Wow.
And it just a shock to the system, right? So,
I mean,
he,
be the understatement of the.
Yeah. Just a super bright kid, bubbly as an infant. And then my wife goes back to work. She's teaching at Sevier County High School at this point. English teacher, teaching English as a second language as well. But we go, he's kind of lethargic, so we take him to the pediatrician one Sunday in October. And the doctor on call at his pediatrician was Dr. Terry, who had run the pediatric oncology program at Children's Hospital for years. And after he retired, he'd gone to working at their pediatrician's office right there by Fort Sanders. And, if you're the father of a child or the parent of a child, anytime they go to the doctor, they feel their abdomen, give them a little push. And he said, yeah, there's something's not right here. And so he said, it could be like a horseshoe kidney. There's a thing where your kidneys grow together. But he said, we definitely need to get him in for an x-ray. So we go straight over to Children's, have a CT scan. Within 45 minutes, they say, we've got to do a biopsy. It's a tumor. Go in there, and within an hour from then, we find out that our little bouncing bundle has got liver cancer. It's a hepatoblastoma. So from that day forward, 90 days on, we're at the hospital.
Right.
Just there 24 hours a day. He has 28 rounds of chemo to try to reduce the size of the tumor.
And he's how old at this time?
8 months.
Oh, wow.
Which, is really a blessing in and of itself, because he can't remember anything.
In so many ways, yeah.
And he's a cell producing machine at that point.
Right. Well, that's a good point.
Like at that age, they're just producing cells, which, that's what cancer is, right? It's a renegade cell production. Sure. But my wife's nursing. So throughout the whole thing, he's enjoying delicious breast milk. Tastes like melted ice cream, if you were wondering. But never loses any weight.
I was wondering if they had any cornbread to go with it.
That's right. But, we end up going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati Children's has the best pediatric oncology program in the country for hepatoblastoma, the liver cancer. The number one surgeon in the world, they write the worldwide protocol for the treatment of it. Just remove the portion of the liver that's got the tumor, and he's tip top ever since.
Really?
No.
What a miracle.
Absolutely. A lot of answered prayers.
Absolutely, man.
But
it's usually,
you
hear liver cancer and you think, whoa.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, cisplatin is a drug that they use in chemotherapy for that particular type of cancer in children that a lot of time leads to hearing loss, no hearing loss at all.
Oh, wow.
No heart trouble, heart problems are to be expected after that kind of treatment. But he's been tip top ever since.
So basically, like it didn't happen.
Yes,
really, for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, how great is that?
And people may think we're crazy when we tell them this, but my wife and I both would say, of course, we wish it never happened, but it's one of the best things that ever happened to us. I mean, we couldn't be any closer.
Well, that's a good point.
Which I think it could go one of two ways. And it may have verged on that from time to time.
Of course. My gosh.
But,
it's uncharted territory.
If you can get through that,
especially
together, you can get through anything.
Especially with just the basic trials that comes with being a young couple, of not having anything, not knowing, trying to figure out what's going to make each other happy as well as individuals happy. And then your whole life trying to figure out if this is all there is to it.
Sure. And even though we had been together for years, we'd been married for 6 months at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Now and it's official.
Yes.
So that's on it.
Right.
Yeah, no, I could see that. The thing about it is I love being a dad. It's something that's I've been blessed having such a good I've been fortunate in many, many ways. Like I was telling you earlier, I was so fortunate of being a single dad since Hannah was probably 2 and still being able to get to do what I loved for a living for so long. Again, there was tons of sacrifices that came with that, but I wasn't going to be happy any other way unless those sacrifices weren't that big a deal.
Right.
At that point, after I had, gotten through so much and figured, I don't want to say figured it out because I don't think we ever got it figured out. If you think you got it figured out, you don't, right?
Yes.
But with knowing yourself better and figuring out who you are, I had a good time at Beaty's. I had a good time at Toyota. I had a good time at this place, but I hated all of them. It wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And I never knew that there was that opportunity because I was a dad.
Right.
And then finally one day, something was presented to me, and I was just thought, this could work. And you've tried everything else. What's the worst that can happen? You got to go back and
sell cars,
do this shit you don't like anymore, or, and not, and when I say doing something you don't like anymore, I'm just simply saying doing something that you don't like anymore is doing something that you're not supposed to be doing.
No, I get it.
This is what you're supposed to be doing, right? And so once you get past the fear of being bullied by that and all that, and then you finally just say, well, screw it. Let's try it. If I hadn't, I'd have probably been a completely different person.
Or dead.
I mean, and you're talking about, music saving your life.
Yeah.
I grew up in a time and in an era where I never knew a divorced family. There was no friend I had that had divorced parents.
Yeah.
So
maybe
when, maybe. And that was kept so whatever or hush hush that you didn't really know about it anyway, right? Or you might have heard the word or known about it, but you didn't know. You weren't hip to it. And so it's like, when I did that, when I went through mine, I was just, I didn't know. I really didn't know nothing then. I didn't know up from down so to get through
You just knew you had to get out of that shit.
I had to go. I was like that Jerry Glauer, so shoot up in here amongst us. Somebody's got to have some relief. I've got to go. But all of that, there's so much of that growing forward. And here's the hard part also with what's coming with being a parent is you've got to figure out the way to navigate that through your kid's life without coming across as the guy who knows everything and the guy who might not have known nothing while you all were growing up together as being a daddy. You know what I'm saying? And because you're dumb, it's already been established. You're old and you don't know nothing. And quite honestly, in retrospect, looking back on it, the quicker, now that doesn't mean, our job is to always tell them the truth and be honest with them. But the hardest part is watching and letting them figure out how they make their decisions to get through. Because here's what you do. You find that happy medium, and each child's different and each parent's different, right? There's not no, Spock thought he wrote a book saying this is how to do it. Fuck Spock. He didn't know dick. He didn't know nothing either.
Well, I've been thinking, I've been doing the math in my
head. What I mean?
So you're 44-ish.
Yes.
Right? And you got a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Add 16 today. You're 60 when she graduates high school-ish.
Oh, you're talking about math I've done, my friend.
He can do that math quickly.
Absolutely. That's car sales math
I'm
right
sitting
there.
here doing math, and I'm like,
I can handle that.
That's my thing, and I'm like,
that'll be cash on the barrelhead, son.
Yeah, that old gray dog's born to run.
Yeah.
But, and here's
why does your granddad bring you to all your games?
Here's the thing, too. I just hope that they don't take the route that I did to learn everything, because I've done everything.
Yeah.
And I've made it,
But you know what?
And I hope that, and there's been people in my life that have done everything that I didn't listen to. But
they were old.
Yeah.
They were dumb and they didn't know nothing.
Mark Twain. And what you said the other day.
Best quote ever. Let me tell you this quote real quick. Save your place, because I don't want to interrupt you, but
no.
There's a quote by Mark Twain. And I called my dad one day on Father's Day, and I said, I just ran across this quote by Mark Twain, and I wanted to read it to you. I was off somewhere. Who knew where the hell I was? Across the country somewhere, but it was Father's Day. And he was like, well, get on with it. That's the way my old man was. And
you should say, well, Dad, I figured you knew him. So
yeah. I figured back when wheels were square, y'all probably got along together. But I said, he wrote, when I was 14, it seemed that the old man didn't know anything at all. But by the age of 21, my, how much he had learned. And man, that's so true. I'm not trying to paint a negative picture. But that's hey, you didn't know how to raise a kid when you had the first one, right? You learned how to do that. Well, guess what? You ain't going to know how to do it when they get this age and this age. I used to tell Hannah all the time, I'm like, I never done this before.
Sure.
Yeah.
I literally would set her down and say, I have never done this before. All you got to do is worry about being a kid and all I got to worry about is being truthful, and we'll figure it out together.
Well, you know, that's, I told Boone many years ago, I said, baby, daddy ain't perfect. But what I do know is what has impacted me in life.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can draw from those experiences.
Oh, you will.
And make his a little better. You know,
you'll be a good dad, man. You know, the one thing you gotta remember, especially as they get older and they start getting independence, and this is just from personal experience. Well, once they start getting older and they start getting more dependent or independent, rather, you know, you got to remember you're already this, you know, you're already this towering figure, right?
Your daddy.
You're already bigger than John Wayne.
Your daddy.
Right?
Well, it's hard to see that.
It is. But then, but think about it. It's something that'll help you think about it and maybe make it mindful as you go along, is just like, just take into consideration the sheer difference in size from them being this big and you being this big. You got to act different. You can't, you know, you can't go out there and, you know, I don't think I ever come out there and grabbed you kids by the face mask or fussed and, you know, cause some asshole over here, you know what I mean?
No, I get it.
And not just in the physical sense, but that's the difference. No matter good, bad, or indifferent, they are always looking up to you in a real way. I mean, but there'll be someday that they get big enough, they'll be looking you eye to eye. Or they'll be gaining on it. And that's when you got to let them know, you little bastard, you got to go to sleep sometime. And I'll beat you with a sock full of batteries.
That's my mama.
That's when you turn Bernie Mac on them. That's when you turn Bernie Mac on them.
Hey,
Miracle?
Listen, my mama.
Get them in the neck till their teeth clack together.
When you got big enough to outrun my mama, she gets you at nighttime, buddy. She'd knock you out of bed with a belt. And you can't do that shit again.
And I jest. But
I'm not. I'm being serious.
Well, no, I don't. I'm not jesting about that. My mom could go berserk.
Oh Lord!
But anyway, it's just you're figuring it out, man. You don't know nothing.
Well, I mean,
you know,
truly, that's probably one of the scariest things I've ever done is knowing that I was going to be the father, of two little life forms,
right?
You know, and changing the way that I live a lot to make sure that I'm here.
Well,
you know, that's
it's hard enough to realize and really take it in that you're going to be responsible for your own self one of these days. Now you got two more.
Yeah.
That you're going to answer for as well, you know? So it's a big deal, but there's lots of blessings to it. And there's lots of times you won't pinch their little heads off and just tell somebody, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Well, one thing, to shift gears a little bit, one thing I thought, because you and I just met, so, and I've shopped at Beaty quite a bit. Actually, I bought a car there, which I'm going to talk to you about later off the air. Anyway, I was thinking today, I'm in the trucking business. Okay. I own a trucking company, have for 22 long years, basically. And what I was going to ask you is that, did you know at an early age that, hey, I'm going to follow in daddy's footsteps. This is what I'm going to do.
That's a good question.
Because, and the reason I ask is that my business partner has a son and he's in his early to maybe 24-ish. You know, we've built a business, a multi-million-dollar business from the ground up, you know, and he doesn't want any part of it. You know, he never did. And I just wonder what that was like growing up, because my daddy didn't have his own business, you know.
Sure. Well, this reminds me of a story that I shared with my dad, several Father's Days ago, but it really was a profound moment of enlightenment for me. When my wife asked me one time, just cuddled up, laying around on the couch, she said, what did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a little boy? And I said, well, really, I think that I always wanted to be a car salesman.
Which is a testament to your dad.
Well,
right
and, and then it started, as these things will do, to the, I don't know if it's the artistic minded or just the type of person that will extrapolate upon things, but I started thinking about it, and it occurred to me that actually what I wanted to do was to be like my dad.
Yeah, there you go.
And not necessarily be a car salesman,
Right.
but to have the people that you encounter in life tell you those things about that person that's so paramount in your eyes, to relay to you how they affected their life, and how he was an example to other people. And I think that was a big moment in my life, was realizing that that's what I wanted to do, was that I wanted to be a good person, and that I wanted to leave the people that I encountered with the impression that I would do anything I could for them, like I got from him.
Right.
That I just wanted to be the best person that I can, because that's how I see him.
Well, and that's my whole point of them. You're always going to be looked up to, whether they get to where they see you eye to eye physically, or they're just little guys or girls like this, that's what you're striving for, as being a good parent, I think. And it sounds like, in your eyes, in your opinion, that's the way your dad was.
Oh, absolutely.
And I could see that totally. So,
does your dad still live?
He is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what you got. That's what else is coming. Those are the good parts that are coming.
Yeah. And, interestingly enough,
Not all gloom and doom.
so my children, my parents' grandchildren, my 2 children are younger than all 8 of their great grandchildren, because there was such a big gap in my brother and sister and I.
Right.
So
How many
you're the
years
youngest.
Yes.
difference?
That's what Granddaddy said. I was the caboose.
My dad said I was supposed to have been a motorcycle. So we have that in common.
Mama says I was a miracle.
Yeah.
Tiffany, my sister, says I was an accident. But 14 and 12 years is the difference in my brother and sister
the same
and I.
with me. Yeah, my brother's 66. So yeah, I'm 53. So yeah, the same. And my sister, I think, is 11 or 12 years older.
Well, and I was really fortunate too that my family is so close. My dad and his brothers are our best friends, and my brother was killed in a car wreck.
I remember that.
Gosh, when was it? It was September the 21st, 1989.
Yeah.
So you were really young.
I was 9 years old. We'd just gone to open house at school. I'd come home, get the phone call. I think perhaps we had a bag phone in the car at that time, but got home and, then just all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
But being fortunate enough to have cousins in my life, like Stosh, my cousin that I work with day to day now, is such a brother to me. And,
he's a good dude, man.
Oh man, I mean, he
was always good to me.
He's a guiding light to me, I guess, maybe, or
he was always a straight shooter.
He's really a fine example of what a good human being should be, even though he's not, he's a little more velour where I might be burlap.
Yeah.
But we can still relate on these things.
Hey, you know what? I'm tired of giving him this much credit. So just keep it moving, okay?
Here.
You heard me, Stosh.
But it's I'm just proud to have all of these really strong men around me.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's common. I don't suppose.
You're not. Yeah.
And how many families does everybody get along or try to?
Yours. That's it.
Yeah. Even for the sake of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
dotted by over.
You can, what's that old, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family.
Yeah.
No, that's a good thing. And it's something that has been fleeting for years and something that's not been there for several different age groups and generations that have come up.
So if your son grows up, he's 9, right?
Yes.
So 9 years from now, he's like, Dad, I want to be in the business. Is that going to be something you're okay with?
Absolutely. No,
that's good. That's
good.
Good.
What if he says, Dad, I want to be a fire truck?
Well,
no, I'm just kidding.
So I'd say, look down there at your feet.
Yeah.
You got any wheels?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm being silly.
No, granted.
Yeah.
But, that's, it took a lot for my parents to let me do what I did.
Yeah.
To go to California with my buddies on spring break and book a tour and play hostels and come home with a woman that, my first wife came back from California with a bunch of buddies of mine and I stayed here for years and we got married and she was gone in 6 weeks. After we got married, after living together for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
It's, what does it take? I wouldn't think my parents would have it in them after losing a child.
Right.
Most don't.
To let me go through that.
Yeah.
But they could see.
That's a testament.
That's what I wanted to do.
That's a testament of not just knowing the difference, but learning the difference and respecting the difference of the different children and learning about, they didn't stop learning on being a good parent. This is just another stage in it. And guess what? This little towhead fucker, he's going to go through it too, But it's totally different than, Angie or Joey or Billy or Bobby. And, so yeah, good for them, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, and I don't know that, and I guess anybody's capable of anything, but I don't know that children these days, and I hate to sound like that or say
you're not old enough to sound that
kids
way.
These days, but I don't know that they're capable of aspiring to be as mean as I was. Or to do as many illegal things.
Oh God, they've got you fooled. He's
in the
really going to fall hard.
Do you think?
I mean, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's just different shit.
Yeah,
the stuff we did, it's just different.
Well, I mean, and that scares me to death too, because I mean, you've got to be scared to death of fentanyl and.
That's what I was thinking.
All of this stuff that didn't exist.
Everything we were faced with I'll speak for my generation. Everything that I experienced at 15, 16-year-old, these kids are experiencing at 10 and 11. If
you reckon?
Not younger.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
They're not dropping acid or anything.
No,
I'm not talking about, No, not. But
when you were 10 years old, you weren't thinking about a little girl.
No.
And now, I mean, the whole world's right
Think
here.
about
No,
man.
and I pray
Take
that
something-
Boone's not thinking about fingering.
take. Oh, damn, folks. It's been nice knowing you. It's been nice knowing you.
Well, this is in no way related to Baby
No,
Chevrolet.
no, this-
Absolutely not.
No. No, but think about
We've got the producer here.
The thoughts and
Listen,
opinions of our guests do not
Yeah.
necessarily reflect the thoughts and opinions of One More for the Good Guys.
no. Think about it this way. Take
hell.
all the bullshit out of it. But think
Sure.
about how much. Think about how different TV looks. Think about how different the line at the grocery store looks.
Music.
Think about how much different
No.
music. Think about how much different the art, or not the art, but the just the general day to day of school. Think about the difference of just take anything that has anything to do with personal out of it, and just really try to do a comparison of how it was, how the grocery line looked when we went through. Big League Chew guys look like Mike Schmidt. Now they look like a guy that's been on steroids for 37
Oh, yeah, they
years.
look like the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
How to make your lover orgasm better in 37 ways. You know, a picture of Trump with his fucking ear blew off.
Sure.
A picture of this one that thinks he's a fire truck. A picture of this. You know what I'm saying?
So, did you guys ever
So
think
it's
that
different.
you might be the 1,000th customer?
It's
I don't know that ever happened, but that's when you say
Yeah.
to envision the grocery line.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be the 1,000th.
No kidding, man.
Yeah.
I thought there would be sirens.
I'd have a speech.
I thought there was confetti,
I'd have a speech.
but
You would have a speech for
I'd be-
sure.
the
I'd
Lord
well
never made it so. You
You'd
know,
have it in your pocket. You
Yeah, I'd just be like,
like,
I knew this day was going to come.
holy shit.
I'd like to thank Howard Johnson for this.
but no, you know, and it's really shocking when you think about it,
But
and you think about the people that you've known,
yeah,
like in this piece of time, like all the way over here. My grandmother Griffin, they sharecropped 5,500 acres
yeah,
along the Holston River, right down Big Bend Road that
Yeah.
runs it right into Frank Nicely's farm. They had 15 teams of mules,
God almighty.
and she never thought that she didn't have anything.
no,
You know, they were able to have a market garden for themselves. They had livestock of their own. She said they would ride in a wagon all day to Jefferson City to sell chickens and eggs,
yeah,
sell produce, ride back, get home late at night. You know, I remember one of just a profound memory in my mind is conceptualizing her telling me the story of her brother having the first car she rode in. Right.
Yeah.
It was an old Model A truck. And she said they were going down Big Bend Road and they were going 10 miles an hour.
yeah.
And her and her sister Reba were screaming at him to go faster.
Oh, okay.
Go faster, 10 miles an hour.
Yeah,
And, you know, here we are. I've got Corvettes sitting on my showroom floor
yeah,
200.
that'll go 200 miles an hour
Yeah.
easily. You know, I've been in them going 170
yeah.
on the tracks.
Yeah.
But it's
Been in
just
them
so
going
shocking
150 on Mississippi Parkway.
that,
Yeah.
you know, in that finite amount of time, that so many things can change.
Well, the human experience, the human condition, the human element of life is going to be what it's going to be, and always probably has been or will be, right? In a lot of regards. But, you know, the difference is, think about the first time somebody seen that car. You know, you hear a lot of people saying, well, the end of times and things are this and things are that. Well, guess what? I hate to break the news to you, but it's been ending since it began, right?
So this started end of time.
Right. Yeah, the spectacular started because the Mayan calendar said the world was going to end in 2000, whatever it was.
So tell me about that. And I'm remiss that I've not asked you this before.
Yeah, sure.
Tell me about the Christmas Spectacular. So how did all of this start? So it's the 12th annual.
Right. It started with, let's do this. Let's have a word from our sponsors real quick.
Yes.
And we'll come back and tell you all about it. And then I got just a few quick fire, first thing that comes into your mind questions to ask. Fun time. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back.
Hey, good guys and good gals alike. If you're looking for somewhere to go to get your hair did, then look no further than the Chop Shop Hair Studio. Our longtime friend and supporter, Cindy Lou, opened this spot located in Knoxville's very own Happy Holler back in 2010. Chop Shop Hair Studio offers a variety of services, including facial waxing, accessories, tools, and a complete line of men's and women's products, along with essential oils. A lover and supporter of the musical arts here locally and abroad, Cindy has a small stage with stringed instruments and offers discounts to guests if they are willing to play and or sing a song. The Chop Shop Hair Studio is a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll, and 100% pure style, just like our dear friend and owner, Cindy Lou. The hours are Tuesday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can also visit thechopshophairstudio.com and or call 865-525-4240 to book your next visit to go and get your hair did. Located at 1206 North Central Street, Knoxville, Tennessee, Chop Shop Hair Studios. Stop by and tell them McGill and Jamie sent you to have one more for the good guys.
Okay, here we go. Hey, welcome back. Thanks again for coming back and sticking around. We got our good buddy Josh Griffin here from Beaty Chevrolet. You can see him from the interstate. And one more for the Good Guys podcast. So right before we took off, Josh asked.
So tell me about the Christmas Spectacular. So this is the 12th annual, right?
This is the 12th annual. So this all started one year when the Mayan calendar said the world was going to end. So this is what, 24? That would have been
2012.
2012. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the Mayan calendar.
That's all right. Yeah. No, that's good.
Well, no, I thought that was Y2K. That everything was supposed to go to hell.
That was it was supposed to go to hell then too, but that was just from the computers and everything rolling over to an unrecognized.
So the Mayan calendar was 12.
Yeah, the Mayan calendar were these indigenous people that lived.
Oh, I've heard tell of those guys.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Structures in the wilderness.
They did a lot of stuff with calendars and sundials and different things. And,
sporting fellows as well.
Sporting fellows, correct. And I will say, tasteful loincloths too, by the way. But so the Mayan calendar had came out and said, the world was going to end.
December 21st, 2012.
Perfect.
End date.
Look at you.
Okay.
You said you couldn't do anything right.
Leave it to the producer.
You are abiding tonight. So the general manager at Barley's, Rodney Lee, came up to me.
Rodney.
Yeah, Rodney. And he came up to me, and it was
There's a podcast episode with him.
Yeah,
you want to listen to it.
And it was getting close to Christmas, and he said, "Hey, have you heard about the world's supposed to be ending?" I said, "Yeah, I heard about that." And he said, "Well, if the damn world's ending, we should be throwing a party, don't you think?" And I was like, "Well, hell yeah!" So we put together a we put together a program where he put me in charge of it. And I got, I don't know, 5 or 6 different bands and backline the stage so instead of me and us being a house band and welcoming people on and them playing with us, I just introduced each act.
Okay.
And we had,
Well, I like to call it a program.
Yeah. And so we would have that style of program. And I would just introduce everybody, and each band, I think, got like 4 songs apiece, and then the next guys came up. So,
do you remember who participated?
I remember some of them. It was, and this still wasn't the spectacular.
No,
this
but
was the
2012 Knoxville. Did you have
this would have been 2011. This would have been the program leading into.
Okay.
So when we got through the end of the night, Rodney said, "Man, it was a great show. It was a big hit. People loved it. We had a good crowd." And I said, "We should do this every year." I said, seeing how it's 12:37 and the fucking world ain't ended yet.
Yeah, here.
Right. And I said, "Well, we should do this every year." And I said, "This is the perfect time of year to do it." And I said, instead of just throwing a party, I said, we could throw a Christmas thing. And he was like, "Well, let's work on it. Let's talk about it." So we did. And henceforth, that following Christmas became the first annual Mike McGill's Christmas Spectacular.
Okay.
And, yeah, we had a house band. We probably had.
I'm trying to remember 2012.
Yeah,
and like the Knoxville music scene.
It would have been.
This was
Trisha. I know Trisha Jean.
So the Black Lilies weren't a thing yet.
Not quite.
So
yet.
were Trisha and the Cavender girls still like doing the Naughty Knots thing?
Yes, they were all involved.
And what about like Jody Manross? Was she still around?
She'll be around this year.
Okay.
She's
and Robin Ellen Cruz were done.
They were done, but Robin Ella was probably still. Robin Ella had probably just started the whole thing. Well, no, because that wasn't a thing yet. She would be getting ready to start she was still doing the Sunday nights at Barley's.
Okay. Well, and that's kind of where my mind was going. What about like Sean McCullough? Were they?
They were around, but unfortunately, we've never worked anything out to be able to get him.
No kidding.
You got to think with the time of year and the way it falls, so
with
many
school.
people have family obligations and or travel obligations or school things. So
what about were like the Everybody Fields?
Tim
have
Lee,
they played?
Yeah. Sam has played once or twice as a guest.
Okay.
So,
and then
while you're thinking, this is something I don't know. The first year that y'all did it in 2012, did you do Christmas music or was it okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, hey, just
the Mayan party was just that was what made me think of, we could do this for Christmas and we could do all Christmas music, but still get this kind of reaction from all the different artists in town and see who we could bring out. Tim and Susan Lee, Tim Lee 3, they played for several years. Tim was a part of the house band for several years. John Whitlock was part of the house band for years, and love John. Best drummer nobody's ever heard.
Yeah. John's fantastic.
Yeah, I love John.
Snare drum you can hear from the moon.
Oh man, he hits that sumbitch like Ike Turner. You know what I'm saying? Who else was some of those early ones? Karen Reynolds.
Okay. What about
Greg Horn? Daniel
what about
Kimbrough.
the Lonesome Coyote guys?
They have
they been out?
They've never.
Well, you mentioned Karen.
They've never officially been a part of it. Four Leaf Pete was a part of it at one time. Steve Horton, Lonesome Coyotes. He messaged me. It might have been a couple of years ago, but it was so close already to the date that there was no way I couldn't. Well, there was no way. I mean, I start this thing in like September or October every year now.
Right.
Who else has been a part of it over the years?
Coyotes, that's Kirko, them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Horton,
but Steve
Hector,
and
Dave, Doug Klein playing drums.
Doug Klein.
Doug, yeah.
He's an old Pick and Grand. He's former Pick and Grand partial owner.
Who was the guy that his daughter was the bartender at Lucille's for years, was a drummer that used to play back there. I can't think of the fellow's name. He's passed away now.
It wasn't at Lucille's. It was she might have been at,
or not.
Was it Lucille's or the back room at
the
that
back
time?
room? Yeah,
that was Adrian.
It's always Lucille. Adrian, yes, exactly.
Ed Ports.
Ed, yeah.
He played with Dave Meir and all them.
Yeah, Detroit Dave and the black guy that played the bass, Michael.
Jim
Crawley and all those guys.
Rick Wolf played with him. Jim Williams.
I can't remember. There's a bunch. Like the ones I knew from that day: Dave, Ed, and
Are you talking about Landio?
No, Detroit Dave.
Okay.
Dave.
Oh yeah. No, that's my buddy Dale Harold, Carter High School alumni.
Yeah,
used to run Charlie's there on the Strip. That's where I ran into Detroit Dave.
But who else? Definitely Naughty Knots. Griffin and Millie's both been performed. Trisha Jean. Adeem the artist when he was just originally known as Adeem.
That was in 16. I did that show.
And Evie Andrews, fiddle player.
Oh yeah, Evie. She worked for my father-in-law in Johnson City. Okay. He had the joint. You guys ever been to the Mid City Grill late at night in Johnson City?
Downtown Johnson City. Let me tell you right now, best fucking hamburger.
Johnston City.
Listen, best hamburger and best desserts in Johnson City, and it's not even close. And it's a dive, and it's right downtown. Mid City Grill is the place.
It's along the vein of Vic and Bill's, but you could bring your own bottle,
except better.
Yeah,
and open the same.
Well, the bathrooms were a lot tamer. Than Vic and Bill's.
Oh, yeah. Well, you didn't.
You ever been in the bathroom at Vic and Bill's at 3 a.m. after the carousel shut down?
The carousel too.
Yeah. Son.
I got a good Vic and Bill story, but I'm going to save that for another guest.
No, so extrapolate. So the group
story. Lots of different people. Whom else was on?
Are you talking
show?
about over the years?
Yeah, that's what he asked.
Christine Horn.
Have you had? Christine's great.
Kyle Campbell.
Kyle. I tried to go to that music store that he owns, and that son of a gun will never be open. Kyle, listen, it's me, Josh Griffin.
Yeah, I've got
a big old checkbook.
Yeah.
I'm trying to buy instruments. I want an ES-35 so bad I can't stand it.
You heard it,
but I can't get into the store.
Yeah,
I'd probably spend $3,000 on a 57 Champ if you had one. Just file that away.
FYI, I'll work on that too. You got enough stuff to take care of. I'll take care of that one. Who else? Who else over the years?
What about Matt?
Cookie Hopper.
Twice.
Morlock played
a couple of different times. No, I think he actually played once with, I think he actually sat in with Paulie Cup for Ian Thomas.
Oh,
Whitlock.
Ian. That group that Ian Thomas had with
Band of Drifters.
Rock.
Yeah.
on the pedal steel.
Yeah.
That was a good group.
That was a good group.
Brock's a hot picker too.
Absolutely.
Played with us earlier in the year. We played with Brock a couple of times at Jig and Reel.
Yeah, when we have one of the reasons, like when we perform, when we do the shows at like the Jig and Reel, or when we perform not at Christmas time, it's Mike McGill and the Refills. And the Refills got the name not because we were out of drinks, but because
you were liable to refill the personnel with anybody you could.
Well, it first started out as just, hey, Whitlock called me and said, hey, the pub don't have an act this whatever night. And, I've always fell in that part of, 1,000 songs. You're a good front man. You can banter with the crowd.
You can put a band together.
You can put a band,
for
I
6 months.
Send up the bat signal, and
sure,
I've just been really fortunate that guys like this and other guys have been always like, yeah, we'll come play.
So that's been a problem for me in life, is that I don't work up any tunes. I want to be a guitar player first and foremost, and I'm willing to sit in and play with anybody, but I don't have anything worked up. I don't sing. So where does that leave you? Right? You're just at the beck and call.
A lot of people need guitar players. I mean,
I'll play the dobro, the mandolin, the banjo, the pedal steel.
Well, you need a good dobro. I've got a good one that you need. It's a Beard dobro. You need that.
Beard's a good
I played it once.
Just to take this thing completely out of the spectrum, one of my best friends, Jay Hollingsworth, Dr. Hollingsworth, dentist here in town, is the only human being,
Agent Dr. Hollingsworth,
to have been bitten by a shark in Costa Rica while scuba diving since they've had written record. What? So my old pal Jay Hollingsworth goes down there.
It's not shark territory.
With his girlfriend 3 or 4 4th of Julys ago, diving, reaching out, petting the, I don't know if you don't call them fauna, fisha. Or flora. But he's underwater. He's petting the creatures.
Bet a bull shark got him.
Next thing you know, a bull shark has hold of the hand. And we're talking about a man that's a dentist, and allegedly that's how these sharks will taste you. They're just getting an idea of what you are. And they say that if you could keep yourself from jerking your hand away,
like when a cat,
there'd be relatively no injury. But so jerks his hand out. Only person in written record in Costa Rica to be bitten by a bull shark. Ends up coming back, rehabbing. He tells him, I don't want to just be back to normal. I want to be abnormal. Dental instrument clutching, moving, teeth cleaning, veneer creating.
Yeah. Dr. Strange.
Dentist individual. Yeah. I call him my Steve Martin dentist. So at any rate, that's the individual that owns currently my dobro. Because I passed it on to him since you can't really use the left hand.
You really need a dobro. Now, I got one. Tell you.
Way to put the hard sell on it.
From the man himself. Call me on the phone. Beard Guitars guy. That guy called me on the phone.
Hey, man, coffee's for closers.
Yeah. Dobro was harder than I expected. Oh, yeah.
What did he call you? He just wanted to shoot the shit?
Well, he's customer service, man. He called me. I ordered it. I had it special made. And it was a lot harder.
Are you talking about Tut Taylor?
I know Tut Taylor. I did know where he died.
Yes.
I got 2 signed CDs.
Rest him.
Hey, listen. My general manager at the restaurant I owned for years, his wife was Tut Taylor's granddaughter.
No shit.
Sarah Taylor. Absolutely. I owned Empire Pizza.
Okay.
That was me for years down there near you.
Actually. Yes. It's right next to El Charo's, right?
Absolutely. Next door.
That's Uncle Stanley's strip mall.
Yep. Yeah. That it's
him and Jim Turner owned that place.
Now
Yeah.
I wish they had owned it then. The cocksucker that owned it then. I made him piss his pants more than once. I'm not kidding you. Here's what I told him.
Show up in the G string or what? How'd you make him piss
his name was
himself?
Doug Stanfield, and he was out of Atlanta. And my main trucking business is in Atlanta. And he tried to be a hard ass. And I just told him,
As men will.
I said, God damn it, Doug, Atlanta ain't that fucking far, bro. I said, it's 200 miles to your ass whipping. I'm coming down there to do it. And so anyway, but yeah, Travis Redmond owns Pizza Kitchen now.
Okay.
And that's where we were.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah.
That was a
Taylor,
fantastic slice at the Empire.
Oh, man, I think we had the best pizza in town. I just got out of the restaurant business before COVID hit. So one of the few times in my life where my timing was good, in business. Yeah. Every now and then, a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then. But Taylor, who is, of course, and I knew Phil Ledbetter real well because he used to come.
Phil's a fantastic human
great
being.
stories.
Yeah.
But I thought, man, I'm going to play fucking dobro. No, a lot harder than I expected it to be. And I play guitar fairly well.
Yeah,
I mean, like I could sit in
proficient
with
individual.
Well, I could sit in with us if I had to. Like I could play acoustic with us and strum and get along. But the dobro was a different animal, man. It was pissed me off. Really, I'm mad about it. So I put it up, never touched it again.
Yeah. So
But
you
you
can buy
need
you a good one. Can we please get back to my shit?
Yeah,
Get
so
back to your
drag
shit.
us
It's
back.
all about
I mean,
you, brother.
drag us
Tucker.
My
back,
name's
please.
here.
Yeah, I know.
It's here. I mean,
So who are these
this
individuals?
one and this one and then the next one.
He was
and-
talking about people on the show that he couldn't.
I know what he was talking about. for
R.B.
Christ's sakes.
Morris, Mick Harrison in the high school.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mick, man. One of my all-time great mentors, and I think perhaps that I lost my brother at an early age, that I latched on to a lot of these older guys. But Kevin Gallagher, world-renowned ophthalmologist, was great friends with Mick
What is it
and
with the doctors with these guys?
and John Paul Keith.
See, I played with John Paul Keith when he left the Viceroys.
Oh man,
Dynamatics.
What about the Filter Kings? The Filter Kings cassette tape, "Cigarette Don't Let Me Down," is one of the finest songs ever written in Knoxville, Tennessee.
I've got an EP of 4 songs that we did with John Paul Keith right after he left the V-Roys. The band that he joined, that we started after the V-Roys, was the Dynamatics. And I'm telling you right now, and this is for you too, John Paul Keith. Hey, I'm just going where the guest leads us, okay? Fantastic. I'm telling you, you'll be like, holy shit, man.
I'm telling you, I was 13 years old, and my parents had to sign a release for me to play at the Mercury Theater.
That's the last show we did was at the Mercury. We opened for Southern Culture on the Skids. That was the last show we did.
Little Debbie, Little Debbie. Oh, such a great time. Do you remember the Snake Snatch Lodge that was there at the Mercury? I just remember going to see John and those guys play
I was working and touring the other direction during.
Yeah,
those
and
times.
so it was before the Mercury. I don't even know if Scott and Bernadette owned that place at the time. But there were couches and
Grotto.
just random chairs there.
The World Grotto.
World Grotto.
No. But to harken back to earlier in the podcast, Susie Dew and my sister were cutting my hair on that fateful day in 1988 when Comcast came to hook up cable at my house.
So nice.
Wasn't that a big day?
Just
for us?
right in the middle of
That
my
was a huge
right
day.
in the middle of my living room.
It was the first day
Susie
I became
Dew
a Cubs
was
fan.
clipping on my hair.
WGN.
Yeah, no, that was a big day. Not just because of cable, but Susie was hot too, and she was cutting your hair. And
Well-
friends with your sister.
That's
She bought a beagle from me.
word on the
one
street.
time. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm sure she's
that's
still hot.
Tiffany, my sister, just told me recently that her and her boyfriend had come up with like a foolproof method of birth control.
Oh,
It said he just comes all over her face.
oh my God, damn. And we're back.
upload a video for YouTube, you have to check a box that says
does this mention anything about coming on someone's face?
Sort of. It says, is this video made for kids?
Absolutely not.
No. You have to, if you say yes, you have to check all these boxes.
Of course you do. God damn it.
John Paul Keith's a Carter boy. I know you know that.
Absolutely.
Did you know
Paxton?
Grew up.
Well, it's crazy.
Grew up right here in Shacktown.
Well, John's dad is a truck driver.
Yeah. Well, Paxton Sellers.
And grew up right here.
Yeah. Paxton went to school, was in my grade.
Yeah.
Okay. So when, he was part of the V-Roys after they got sued and had to change their name. And this is the craziest shit of all time. I know we're talking about the Mike McGill Spectacular.
No, we're not. We're talking about fucking
ancient history.
Some fucking guy with 3 names that don't make a damn. Carry on.
But you know why?
Please carry on.
It's Mike McGill.
Get your hands off my stuff.
It's Mike McGill Spectacular.
Don't touch it.
That sounds like
Jamie,
3 names.
It's Jamie and Mike's podcast. So one more for the good guys.
Mike and James. Okay.
It is in alphabetical order. So when they had their little breakup, this is the craziest shit of all time. Didn't find this out years later. So John Paul Keith comes in to Pick and Grin. Okay. And I'm working and he's looking for a guitar. I don't know. See, I'm playing the country circuit. I don't know nothing about, I know John Paul from school, but I don't know him at all. So he's like, and I'm doing a demo. It just so happens I'm selling keyboards and I'm doing a demo. And he's like, man, I'm thinking about putting a new band together. Would you like to work? Let's get together. I was like, sure, I'll do that, So we did. And Paxton came in to play bass the first night because he was, he and John Paul were like this.
Oh, absolutely.
And he was like, oh, Scott, John, whatever. Well, Paxton played with us once. And of course, Paxton's great bass player. And, but he was going to stay with the V-Roys. So the bass player that we got, John Wright, is best, and I didn't know this till years later, it's best buddies basically with Scott Miller.
Yeah. I know John.
Yeah. And John and I own the restaurant together.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So John and I were buddies and we had our first studio together. Actually, the first record that Scott Miller recorded, that song, Is There Room on the Cross for Me, for example. That's Peggy Hambright playing that piano part, and we recorded that. Recorded a lot of that album. So, but I didn't learn.
Did you record it to DAT? Was that what it was back then? At that time,
we were using ADAT. We had a little. John worked for Brian Conley, who's his buddy.
I remember Brian.
Yeah, and they owned a bank building downtown. Is right next door, touching the YWCA.
Yes.
Where my my mom worked for years as a water safety instructor.
No, well, my buddy Jared Slyman, we were playing in a punk band at about that same time. And Slyman Realty was right where, what's the arcade bar now? Sutry's is.
Okay. So that's
with Slyman.
Right down, diagonal.
And we would go under the building and go up there and listen to you guys practice.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, but what's crazy is I didn't realize, because when that V-Royce thing happened, it was John Paul against Scott. That was like the thing. I don't know that John Paul Keith knew that John Wright and Scott Miller, this is how close they are. Scott Miller officiated John Wright's wedding. I was there. I played.
No shit.
And vice fucking versa. That's how close they are.
Wow.
I didn't know that at that time because I was ignorant. I was only 21 years old. I didn't know shit. Still don't. But anyway, that's a little. So
I was probably 14 at the time.
Yeah, that got me introduced to a whole different side of the Knoxville music scene that I didn't get to see. Because when I started, he and we grew up together. He married the sister of a buddy of mine from high school, and that's how we met. I started playing out when I was 16. 1990.
Yeah.
So, but it was all, that's when Garth was hitting and Clint Black. So if you were going to play in Knoxville for money at that time, you had to transition to that.
So you're playing country music.
Absolutely. That's all I played then. Yeah.
Oh no, that's, and probably, what do you fast forward 4 or 5 years later? And that's, the only thing that I could get picked up with while I loved Jimmy Burton, loved the Everly Brothers. That's what really got me into playing rock and roll music. And the only thing that I could get a gig playing was like Bad Religion. You know, and that's like the Fuck Armageddon, This Is Hell, those kind of records.
Carry on, boys. I gotta pee.
Are really what got me into the Knoxville music scene was playing punk rock. And it was just a pure desire to be out there.
Sure. Yeah.
And to be in it.
Right.
And that's all I wanted to do.
Well, it was just by happenstance that happened. I had been in a couple of bands, and man, we were playing 7 nights a week. I was playing 7 nights a week, going to school too.
Yeah.
And we were running back then the country circuit here. There was no downtown involved. That was the old city was a fledgling thing. Okay. And Market Square was a joke.
Right.
And you had the Mercury, and that was it. Like we played.
No, I remember
the first show that John Paul Keith and the Dynamatics and we played was at Tomato Head when it was half the size of it is now.
Yeah.
So, and that went over great. And John Paul's a great songwriter, great guitar player,
fantastic guitar player.
Man, the songs that he did, then it was just a hot thing. But of course, he's still after it.
Just played at the Ryman last weekend.
Yeah, he wanted to go on the road. I couldn't do that. John was running the school, Thaxton School at that time.
Yes.
So a Thaxton School branch, and we just couldn't do that. So we just disbanded, and we played the Mercury Theater I've never been around a crowd like that. I mean, it was, I don't know how many people were in there, but it was as packed as you could get. It was dangerously packed. And that was our last show, never played again. And of course, John Paul's great and whatever, but that was my first taste of the other side. Back then you had really a big division in the music scene in Knoxville.
And what it looked like.
Yeah, it was discombobulated and it was all over the place. And it didn't happen until in the 2000s to where it kind of cohesively started being one. This is the music scene. You know what I'm saying? In the 90s, it was not that way.
Well, you know what? Recently, for me, at the what's the joint that's right there where the White Lily factory used to be? Is that the Mill and Mine?
Yeah.
So I was down there last year seeing Built to Spill, who we played with in probably 99, 2000, after they were on MTV's, HBO's alternative music show that they had there with acoustic resin or caustic resin. But at any rate, I was down there and I got thrown out of that show because I threw a beer at those guys. And, that was what
you have that on big jobs.
at the time we were playing. That was a term of endearment.
Yeah, you're right.
I would love for somebody to throw a beer at me.
Me too, man.
Hell, those sons of bitches threw me out of there. I had to get Rusty Odom drove me home.
Rusty's been on the show.
Yeah.
Sure has.
Anyway, so tell me about the Christmas Spectacular. So what do we look forward to at the Christmas Spectacular? What does this thing benefit?
This thing benefits Second Harvest Food Bank Food for Kids program.
Yeah.
And your $20 will create 60 meals for a child in one of 19 counties in East Tennessee. That's crazy numbers.
Fucking shocking.
Really it is.
$100 feeds one child for an entire year.
That's crazy.
So
what I told him all the time off the air is like, hell, I need to get.
If I could feed my children
No shit.
for $100,
I need to get Second Harvest Food Bank to do my grocery shopping.
no,
Obviously.
but it's if there's a little boy and girl out there that don't have enough to eat, you just call me and I'll take care of it. I mean, I hate to fucking hear that or think about it.
And we did, and you guys are.
And you nailed it.
You know? And we appreciate that. I mean, kids, I say this all the time, and I'm sure, some folks might think that I just, trying to come up with something clever to say or something. But, kids ask for things all the time, right? All year long. And then they really ask for a lot of things at Christmas, but none of them has ever asked to go to bed hungry. And, there's over 15,000 meals picked up every Friday for this program at Second Harvest in Blount County.
No kidding.
Yes. So the numbers are astonishing. They're buying power.
That's staggering just in itself.
They're buying power. Your dollar, where you buy that bag of apples for $4.99, they can buy 4 bags of apples for $4.99.
What's the $12 million stat? You threw that. You was talking about that last night.
For all their programs that they do, their monthly costs are $12 million a month.
A month?
A month. Now that goes from all the different programs, and they have a plethora of programs.
But we're talking about a 501c3 here.
Yes.
That's not taking in anything.
That also operates at 95% efficiency.
So thank you. Just as somebody that's just rolled in here to this podcast, if you're giving to these people, that means the world to the world.
Absolutely.
To bring children up with a full belly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no telling what they're capable of.
Yeah.
And we've got to feed them first off.
44 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about that. That's big corporation type money.
Oh, it's shocking.
Man. And to be, we talk about this all the time. The numbers that we throw out with the $20 ticket gets 60 meals. If you buy $100 worth of tickets, you feed a kid for a year. And what I told Mike is that, most of these kids that are hungry, it's not that they're not eating all day. It's like they're missing a meal. Like,
yeah.
And so realistically, a 60 meals supplements a kid's nutritional intake for 2 months, because you're supplementing a meal, because they're, especially during the school year, because they can eat at school for breakfast and lunch, theoretically,
Sure.
So
you've got to be there.
Yeah. It's even more of an impact, because if you say, for example, $100 gets you 360 meals ish, that's what they're getting at. It's like we're taking a kid that's borderline getting the nutrition they need and is basically existing, and taking that kid and saying, okay, now we're giving you enough calories and whatever to where you can actually thrive. And that's why the impact is so much bigger. It's because it's not really that much money. I mean, hell, $20 doesn't feed 2 people at McDonald's.
No. And well, to me, what's staggering about even thinking about this is that I remember thinking about eating Cairo syrup on my pancakes, like thinking that I was missing something, that I wasn't eating Aunt Jemima or Log Cabin.
Mrs. Butterworth.
And these poor kids, hell, those some bitches ain't even eating Cairo syrup.
That's right. They're missing a dinner.
It's really shocking to think about coming up and to have struggled, and to think that your parents or whoever was taking care of you were going out of the way to make sure that you ate, to imagine somebody not eating those times when you see the effort.
Well,
I'm here for it.
Like you said with your child, with the cancer, he was a cell producing machine. Well, all these kids that are growing up, this is the most important times of their life. They're developing every day. They're growing at faster rates every day.
Absolutely.
Little Johnny may be different than Billy, and Susie may be different than Cindy, and so on and so forth. And if somebody told you could only eat once or twice a day, you'd probably do everything you can to have a breakfast and a lunch, especially if you knew you had to go home and you could not eat again until the next day,
Yeah. I mean, it's
try that on your 12-hour fasting.
Yeah, no kidding.
16-hour.
I mean, Pride's told me that from time and time again.
Yeah. It's the only time in your life, in your history of your life, where getting those 3 meals is most important.
And yes, absolutely.
Because as you get older, statistically proven that the less you eat, the longer you live.
Well, your brain's not developing.
Right. It's the only time in your life.
So listen, let's hear who we've got on the slate this year. Because we've gotten off track here.
I like we. That's a nice word, isn't it? I'm kidding. This year's guests will include Matt Woods.
Okay.
Who's been around forever, who's toured around forever, who has played everywhere and anywhere all across the United States.
I remember him from Willis Music.
But still is,
and still is doing it, but has never gotten to play the Bijou stage.
Are you kidding me? Matt Woods has never played the Bijou.
Isn't that amazing?
No, I mean, it's shocking.
None
really.
of the guests this year, except for Schwabe, and that's because she was there last year.
And then the next guest would be Jody Manross, who's been around forever.
Yep.
I was just asking about Jody.
You were. And
was she playing with Yachty?
Huh?
Yachty?
No.
Okay.
No, I think you're thinking about somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's move on and I'll fill you in later.
Here.
Just because. No, Jody's coming on, and I am pretty certain she's never got to play the Bijou before.
Wow.
And then the third person that's never got to play is a fellow by the name of Michael Cover. Do you know Michael?
I don't know, Mike.
Might have came along a little after your time out there.
Okay.
But I've known Michael nearly 20 years, and
no
just
kidding.
a absolute sweetheart of a guy. Has worn many different hats, has worked in the family business and other businesses, but and then I'm going to wrap it up. And then Red Shoes and Rosin will be a guest this year again, who is Jessica Watson, Meade Armstrong, and Shauna Cyphers. Wonderful trio group, kind of old time, jazzy, great vocalists, great harmonies. They have provided backup harmonies for me for, I don't know, probably at least
a decade.
Oh, no kidding.
Probably in this show particular.
Okay.
They'll be featured as well. And then Griffin Cavender Van.
Yeah.
She'll be coming on. She's wrote a song just specifically for the event. And Bill Alexander, the Appalachian hippie poet. And here's a testament. And I'm going to share a little bit of this on the night, but a testament to someone. We all know how hard it would be to reinvent ourselves at the age we are now, much less if we were 70.
Sure.
Let's say, or any year past the age we all are now. Right?
Katie's been his best friend.
That's fair enough, right?
Yeah.
So when I first met Bill, he was the same charming, nice guy, but he was heartbroken and lonely and sad.
No kidding.
Saddest man I ever met in my life. He couldn't talk more than 37 seconds.
Lost his life.
And he
partner.
was in tears. You know, he lost his wife.
Yeah.
And then he found all of us yahoos at all these different venues or different events and started coming out to listen to music and didn't know anyone, right? So he was talking to me one night, and I always tried to be friendly with Bill, and I knew he was hurting, and I didn't mind. You know, this guy needs a chance to, just like you assholes, I gave you enough time to talk about all the bullshit you wanted to. I gave Bill the same amount of time because I'm a nice guy and
Good guy.
a good guy. Yeah, there you go. But, you know, all jokes aside, he came up to me one night. We were at Barley's. We were listening to the show. I can't remember if I was a part of the show or if I was there or what it was about or if we were on a break or what it was about. But Bill said, "Hey, I got a poem that I wrote the other night," and he told me all about what gave him the interest and the reasoning behind why he wanted to write it. And he said, "Would you mind if I recited it for you?" And I said, "Absolutely, please. I'd love to hear it." And it was called Amber Light. And when he got done with it, I was like, "Bill, I want that to be the opening track on my new album. I'm getting ready to cut a new album. And this poem you just recited to me absolutely wraps and connects the entire album."
No shit.
And I would love
Just out of the blue.
out of the blue.
Yeah.
Just because I was nice to an old man
Well,
that
no, just an
had a heavy
association,
heart.
right?
Yeah, yeah. No, well, I mean, honestly, yes, association
and
for
that's
sure. But the association was I just recognized a really sad old man
No.
that needed somebody to talk to, and I just let him talk. You know, I didn't have and he told me this, and he was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "Give me your number. I'll call you. We'll put something together." I said, "I want you in a vocal booth behind a microphone. I want you reciting this poem, and it will be its own track. It's not going to be mixed in with a track or."
Sure.
I said, "It's a performance. It's a piece of work, just as much as all the songs that we got coming on this album. And I want it to be featured as such."
Right.
And the next thing I know, man, this fella it was like, it was like the butterfly. He just started metamorphosizing in front of my eyes and reinventing himself. And then the next thing you know, he's the sponge, like we were talking about, and things were coming and overwhelming him. I'm sure he was probably writing 4 or 5 pieces of work a night, maybe. I don't know. I mean, not to take words out of his mouth, but
Sure.
But you know what I'm saying? He was being hit like a machine gun on this newfound life, this newfound.
No, and
thing.
Katie is a big buddy of ours. She worked with Nicole at the Stir
Katie
Fry
Coffin?
Cafe. Yes.
Yeah.
And, she spun records at
Still does with WDX.
at 90.3 for years with buddies of mine, and they would come over to the house and borrow albums. And she worked with Nicole at Stir Fry. And they would come over and listen to albums and sit around, and we would enjoy things that made us stay up all night.
Yeah, yeah.
And we would listen to records and talk about these things that, like strands of the spider web, like kind of brought us all in together. Those kids were coming from such a deep, like almost like post Peter Rowan, like Bluegrass Boys, like really deep bluegrass center.
Oh yeah.
Where I was coming to those guys from more of a psychedelic, Clarence White, Birds, Graham Parsons area. And we just kind of met and listened to albums and sat around.
And then you figured that all those worlds also intertwined.
It was all the same.
And then you figured out.
And that's why we got along.
Oh, that's why we get along.
Yes, right. Exactly. But, Katie and Bill, to distill it all down to what we were just talking about, have really brought themselves to the forefront of Knoxville subculture.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not even the subculture of Knoxville anymore.
Well,
it's what somebody from the outside would look at.
Well, Katie, Katie went through school and started figuring it all out, and watched her grow up in front of our very eyes, and is program directing.
But Alex was there before Katie. I used to play with Alex Leach.
Oh yeah, I knew.
I'd go up there to what was that school in Kingston where we'd go to that schoolhouse?
Bradbury Farm, or not Bradbury, but
just
Buttermilk Road, down on Buttermilk Road. Yeah,
and we would sit up there and pick.
Yeah,
for hours. I'd play the mandolin, and that little kid would look at me for hours and just try to pick and memorize licks that I was playing.
Yeah.
And, I'd come back the next week with my banjo or the next week with my dobro. I would never play the same instrument twice. And I learned so much up there. And I think that Alex learned a lot as well.
Oh, absolutely. He's touring with, he's been on the podcast. Alex was always, he was a special kid during the time in my run in the bluegrass world, and always tried to stay positive with him and give him good information and try to treat him like a kid, but also
That was a strange thing.
Encouragement, along the ways. But he's playing with that Wyatt Ellis kid now on the road, and of course did a stint with Ralph Stanley too. And we do I rewrote it a little bit, rearranged it. I didn't rewrite it. I rearranged it is the right way to say that. But we do about every time we play, we do an Alex Leach song in our.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, called Mountain Heartache. I rearranged it to fit our style a little bit better, but no, Alex is great.
I always heard a tale about him and Peter Rowan playing at a Bluegrass Boys session, but it's a very obscure tale.
Alex has done amazingly with his time and his talents, and continues to do so. But getting back to the deal, I just watched. I had the opportunity to be like the big brother in a lot of this stuff, and I just got to watch Bill completely metamorphosize and create a new identity and reinvent himself as a new man. And, as important as any part of all of this stuff that's coming up, I'm really thankful that he's going to be there and get to do his performance art the way he sees.
It's really
the
powerful
way he sees
too,
because it's very powerful.
He did it at we do two pre-shows, if you will, in Rugby, Tennessee, and we did one last Saturday and we did one tomorrow. And last week,
did one tomorrow.
We did one tomorrow. Yeah, last week.
That was great.
But Bill came with us last week, and it was powerful, man.
Yeah.
He's doing a Robert Frost poem, and then he's doing one he wrote. And the Robert Frost poem, I don't want to spoil it, no spoilers, but basically it's one of my favorites. And man, he just kills it. It's really good. It's just him.
What poem is it? Is it
It's,
Walk in the Woods?
It's stopping by the woods on Snowy.
Yeah. Whose woods these are, I think I know.
Yeah. And he just, you can tell that he didn't he say he learned it as a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you can tell it's a poem that's part of him. You know,
Yeah.
it's important.
No, that's when you hear that poem and someone recite it, like the hidden key
Oh yeah.
is when he says, "My little horse must think it queer
Yeah.
to stop without a farmhouse near.
It's
Between the
powerful,
wood and
man.
frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year."
Well, and then knowing and being firsthand to the witness of that guy when you first met him versus that guy to the time he is now, and watching him be able to play ping pong between
well,
playing things off of being an entertainer and being relevant and then being able to come across and own a performance
well,
in the arts.
the crazy thing,
very,
though-
it's very powerful.
the crazy thing though too is like in the back of Beyond, my buddy Chelsea has grown up with this guy, like living and producing medicinal herbs and what is this guy's name that she lives with?
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I mean, he's a goofy motherfucker. You guys have to
I
know.
think I totally know who
You
you're
guys
talking
have
about.
to know who this guy is. He's like a little fedora wearing.
Yeah,
like, pale
I know
individual.
exactly who you're talking about. And I'd rather not say.
Yes.
Because I don't know where you're going with this, but yeah.
Well,
Jack Harrinan.
it is indeed Jack.
Yeah.
But my buddy Chelsea
Yeah.
has gotten caught up in this whole fucking web
Yeah.
of industrialized spices, you know, and individualized teas
Yeah.
and things that can make you really not want to carry on with these things.
Well, okay. Listen, enough of that shit. Here's you some questions.
Never mind that.
Just cut her
shit.
out of here.
Never
comes
mind that shit. Here comes Mongo.
Mongo.
Yeah.
Oh hell.
Well, where's it at? Damn it, I had it.
Yeah.
What do we got here?
I had the money. You
We
ain't
came up
had
with some
shit.
quick fire questions that we ask all of our guests.
Oh,
now
beautiful.
that kind of now while he's looking them up, they're supposed to be quick.
Man, enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Brother, I've really enjoyed meeting you.
Hey, I appreciate it. Man.
It's been a fantastic night.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think so.
I don't know. I feel like I'm getting a little spatial as far as the podcast is
I
concerned.
guess it's better than a little facial.
Yeah,
We talked
here.
about that earlier.
That's what we were saying beforehand.
Oh my God.
But man, it's fantastic. Sit around and talk to people about Knoxville.
Well, this is a
And-
safe space, you know, and you can come in here and bullshit and talk about what you want to talk about. And, you know, ultimately, I don't think that was what this place was originally created for, but I think it kind of was
Well,
because this was a place to quarantine and
I hope that people
to do a greater good.
I hope
you know?
that people
So
one
hopefully
day will realize, and perhaps they have already, that Knoxville is an individualized place in the world.
Definitely that.
You know, I mean, how many places on earth could you have the pilot light and, you know, what's the place over on 4th and Gill that's like a psychedelic treehouse.
Oh, it used to be.
Yeah, I
Sassy
apologize,
Ann's.
people.
Sassy Ants.
Is it Sassy Ann's?
On 4th and Gill?
Yes. Yeah, with the piano in the corner. You go upstairs. There'd be
It
a
was definitely in
DJ.
upstairs.
It was
yeah.
completely a psychedelic treehouse.
First
Yeah,
time I was, yeah.
You ever played there?
I've never played there,
I've
but
played there.
I used to.
I played in a lot of blues jams up there.
I used to date this gal that was a burlesque dancer, and it was that was nice.
Yeah, here. Well, that fucking guy. So
I'd been to a bunch of shows there.
when
for
we
that kind of
originally
thing.
started playing as Oversoul in the early 2000s, they were the Uptown Bogarts,
yeah, I remember that name.
and
you
then
know.
they became the who is it? Dave Campbell and those guys play with.
Smooth Sailor.
Well, not Smooth Sailor, but
Yeah.
Coveralls.
The
Coveralls.
Coveralls.
yeah, yeah.
So they
yeah.
went from the Uptown Bogarts to the Coveralls.
Yeah,
And Chris, the guitar player, played an SG.
yeah.
And I had an SG for years. Still have it. But those guys would always contend that they were us when we were playing with them.
Dave's coming on after the first of the year with us. For,
Very nice.
for an episode. So okay, let's run through this real quick.
Here.
Do you have a favorite Christmas?
Probably 2011.
Okay.
Got my first shotgun from my father, and I wasn't using hand-me-down guns anymore.
Right.
Got a 20 gauge Remington 870 Express.
Nice.
So that would have to be my favorite Christmas.
Nice. Very good.
First person to come up with an actual
Yeah.
favorite Christmas.
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best vacation.
Best vacation ever was a couple of years ago. My wife and kids went to Ireland for the month of July.
Nice.
And
you didn't have to see them for a month, or did you?
Yeah,
go
no
with
kidding.
them?
It
no,
was-
no. Just stop,
it was
stop.
fantastic. We played a lot of music at the house. No, but went over to Ireland. My parents were with them the last 2 weeks they were there. Got to experience a lot of fantastic things over there. So there it is.
There you go. Best fair food.
I'm gonna have to go with the Italian sausage.
Oh,
Okay.
First
Sausage and peppers.
All
man.
right.
First person not to pick corn dog.
All right.
Big
Corn dog's fucking easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it? Not so much.
Is it easy?
Let's see. If you could live in any decade, which one would it be?
Probably the 19-teens.
All right. If you had a time machine, where do you go back to first? Or where do you travel to the future first?
I would probably have to go back to the early 60s and maybe plug myself a couple of Les Pauls. Maybe bring them back home.
Maybe visit the big house out in San Francisco.
Yeah, here.
Yeah. Best book you've ever read?
What's that some bitch called? It's something Copperhead. It's fantastic. It's Barbara Kingslover, local lady out of Johnson City. Something King Copperhead. Fantastic book.
We'll find it.
Looking it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I said. We'll find it.
Barbara King's lover, Copperhead.
Demon
Copperhead.
Demon Copperhead.
Yeah, Pulitzer Prize winner.
Yep. Yeah.
If you could meet one man and or one woman from history, who are they and why?
Dwayne Allman. I want to blow a couple lines with him.
Perfect.
What was your first car?
It was a 1984 Chevrolet Scottsdale, green in color, 4-speed on the column.
All right.
Nice.
Chevrolet truck, 4-wheel drive.
Short bed, long bed?
Shortest.
Okay. What's your dream car?
Goodness gracious. It's probably a 1964 Chevrolet 2 383 4-speed Muncie. Just absolutely outrun the word of God.
I love it.
I love that phrase.
I love it. What was one and or two of your favorite Knoxville bands?
Oh gosh, the Whiskey Scars were the finest.
Think about it.
The Whiskey Scars were the finest band that Knoxville's ever unleashed upon the world. Super Drag was okay. What was that group that had that old guy with the beard and that other guy that's sister was in the band? It was like a Perkle.
I'm not sure.
They used to play a lot of records.
Jeff and Sarah?
No, it was Mike and they got like cuts lawns now.
Oh, the Barstool Romeos?
Yeah.
That's a good guess.
We're running those guys at 4620 back whenever it.
I like that. Next. Let's see here. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
We've got a couple Star Treks lately.
When I say wrestler, who do you think about?
It's really obscure, but the Dingo Warrior. We used to have a lot of really crazy ESPN like Texas wrestling things that went on, and the Dingo Warrior, Kerry Von Erich, the Freebirds.
Yeah.
They were all really
class championship.
They were
WCC.
They were paramount in my mind.
Yeah.
But the Dingo Warrior was really like ruthless and
was actually the ultimate warrior.
Indeed, yes. He was,
and that's why
ring rope shaking.
And that's why we're done with this. Favorite actors.
Oh, goodness. Gracious. Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a great one. Favorite actresses. I guess in this world today, it's still actors.
Yeah, here. Charlize Theron.
Very good. That monster. Oh my God. Movie she starred in as the serial killer lady.
Monster.
Oh,
yes.
She played.
God, nothing made me ever want to fuck a lesbian less.
Oh, no.
I love lesbians.
Top sports
and
moment.
They've loved me, but Monster is not a loving situation.
Well, you know what's
definitely not
on the Monster movie. You know what I told somebody is like,
because this is going to make it better.
It is going to make it better. I was like, my God, man, they deserve some kind of fucking award to make her ugly.
Oh,
man, no
do
shit.
they not?
Oh yeah,
because that's hard work. Yeah,
here.
Yeah,
man,
no doubt. What's your Top sports moment. Sure, you're a sporting man.
Yeah, here. Number one sports moment was the Atlanta Braves taking Max Fried out of the game.
Sending him to the Yankees.
Well, they've sent that sumbitch to the Yankees, period. But I'm talking about 2022. He has a no-hitter going into the 8th inning in the World Series. And they remove him from the game. And we end up winning that game because of, oh gosh, what is that big fucking Bohemian that hit a home run in that game? I'd spent $10,000 taking my father-in-law and my wife and my child to that ball game.
To the game. You're at
Yes, because there was nothing more than I wanted to be. I didn't get to go see Tom Glavine. Didn't get to see Smoltz. Didn't get to see him play the Twins. And now I'm at a point in my life where I've got enough money to go and see the Braves play in the World Series.
Who were they playing? I forgot. Who was
the Astros.
Oh, yeah. Thank God.
And, Fried.
Cheating bastards.
Yeah, no fucking shit. They're beating fucking trash can drums. Like, oh, look here. It's the World Series 2021. And it was just shocking that they'd take Max Fried out of that ball game.
You still won the game.
Here.
Yeah. But
hey, I
got
to tell you about John Whitlock. That's talking about banging banging drums.
Wait a minute. Top John Whitlock story.
No, we got to turn this sumbitch off.
Oh, well, we'll come back to it. Yeah, because I have a few of those as well. Favorite beer?
Goodness gracious. I'm going to have to say it's PBR.
Nice work. Favorite album?
Goodness gracious.
Or top 3?
Yeah.
So
I'll help you out.
So you've got the Allman Brothers Live at the Fillmore East. You've got Miles Davis Bitches Brew.
Oh man.
And you've got Larry Coryell Spaces.
Nice work.
That's pretty good. That's a good trio right there.
Top 3 sporting events.
Bonnaroo.
Sporting events?
Yeah, that's some bitch is sporting.
Okay.
I played basketball with Pearl Jam at Bonnaroo.
No, fine. That's cool.
So you've got Bonnaroo, you've got Talladega, and then you've got Tennessee, Alabama.
Nice
work.
And I have to say, too, that in my lifetime, Tennessee has beat the dog shit out of Alabama. I was here for that Don Shula era where Alabama was not even a question.
Oh, Mike Shula era?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don Shula.
Yeah.
No, we're not playing the Miami.
Yeah, but that was one of those Saban is coming eras right there.
Well, fuck that motherfucker.
I'm with you, man.
That's right.
We have beat.
It's fleeting. We're here now.
That's right.
We have beat the University of Alabama more than any other university in the history of collegiate football.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Next.
No one. Top favorite golfers.
Jack
All
Nicklaus.
time, just win it. Don't have to be current. Unless you want them to be. They're your favorite.
No, my favorite was
Golden Bear. I mean,
what's the old British guy?
Nick Faldo?
No.
Nick Price.
No,
Gary Player?
Gary Player.
He's actually South African.
I learned so much more from Gary Player than any other golfer because he would stretch on the golf cart.
Yeah.
and it really helped me in my golf game.
Yeah.
Faldo can suck a dick.
He must be a Greg Norman fan.
Ernie Els is my boy.
The Big Easy.
Really?
Oh, he can drop it on him.
I never really liked Els.
The Big Easy?
Well,
No.
Made it look easy, man.
say la vie.
I don't give a shit if he made it look like fucking open heart surgery.
You didn't like VJ singing
I
either,
never
did you?
really
You're
liked
not a VJ man, are you?
That's right.
No, I'm more of a.
You're
I'm more
Davis
of
Love
a.
the third guy, aren't
Fuck off.
Davis Love was my favorite golfer.
you? I love that guy.
Oh, there you go. I was more. No, I mean it's probably because of my age, but I loved. I loved characters. I still love characters to this day. So, my favorite golfers would have been people like Fuzzy Zeller.
Oh, Fuzzy.
John
Boom,
Daly.
Chi-Chi.
Boom Boom,
Boom, man.
Oh,
Cha-Cha,
yes.
Rodriguez,
Roderick.
as
They call me
as
Hot
Le-
Necks.
as Les Nessman would say on WKRP in Cincinnati. And probably, Jack, of course. The 86 Masters, watching him.
It's the greatest golfer ever. It's not even
The
close.
bear has awoken from hibernation.
Yeah.
That was the best call ever. But Stadler. Hell, I'll tell you a great golfer that did.
What about Tom Kite?
That never.
him.
That
You like
never.
the
Heels,
glasses?
Glasses, yeah.
Yeah, fuck Tom Kite. I tell you who never got enough credit that was a great golfer. No, Tom Kite was
Harvey
fine. I'm
Penick.
just kidding.
Yeah. Ooh.
I was back in the day was Calvin Pete.
Oh, well.
I've never even heard of
Black
that son of a
golfer
bitch.
before Kangos was cool. Fuck, Mama's going to knock
This
you
is like
out.
Mose Thornton.
Cool J. Hit every fairway
Yeah?
every time. Oh, he was incredible. Saturday morning cards.
Mama is going to knock you out.
Yeah.
The Smurfs, the Snorks.
Smurfs.
Serves.
We can tell how old he is. Top muscle cars.
1964 Chevrolet Chevy 2, 383, 4-speed Muncie.
Let me finish it up. That will outrun the fear of God.
The word of God.
Either
Hear,
way.
hear.
Anything else to add to that? That's it.
German short hair pointers.
That's your favorite dog breed?
Yeah, we like to hunt birds.
Yeah.
We're Griffins.
Yeah.
We shoot over and under 20 gauges.
I love it. I
we
got a
play-
Sears Ted Williams 20 gauge. It was my dad over there on the wall that I've watched him throw up on his hip many a time. And
We
knock
play,
the ass over the ears of a rabbit.
Yeah, we play
100
German.
million
We play
times.
German banjos, American guitars. Like to ride around in cars.
Candy bar. What's your favorite candy bar?
Zero.
Oh, you talked about Zero the
We were
other
just
day.
talking about a
Man, I
zero
love
the
the
other
Zero
day.
ball.
Yeah.
Damn.
They're underrated.
They are.
Yeah, here.
Stand-up comedians.
Stephen Wright.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. He was very unique, to say
Yes.
the least.
Is the
Favorite-
dude.
What's the best Christmas movie?
Charlie Brown.
Ah, that's a great one.
That's a good one. I
Yeah.
saw that come across the thing today.
I hadn't.
Charlie
We
Brown
hadn't
Christmas.
got that one before.
Now, everybody says a Christmas story.
Woof.
Hey, easy, easy.
Easy.
Horror movie.
Oh, what's that movie with it's Jacob's Ladder?
Oh, God. With Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Tim Robbins, the Alien movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw that in the theater.
it's me.
Who's your boxers?
Oh gosh, man. Ike Cortez. Sugar Ray Robinson.
That's-
Mike Tyson.
All right.
That fight was fixed, by the way. But go ahead.
man.
What a crock of shit.
Oh God! Don't even. That wasn't a fight.
No,
Come on.
I mean, if he's not got the custom auto, it's not Mike Tyson.
Well, his ass is hanging out on fucking TV. It's fuck all that. Fuck off. Best mom movie.
Mr. Mom.
Mr. Mom.
Yeah,
Did you
is that
say
the best
Mom
mom
or
movie?
Mob?
No, Mob.
Oh, mob movie,
Yeah.
Casino.
Okay, all right. Because I was like, what?
Saw Mr. I
Did
saw
I miss-
Mr. Mom in the theater.
Did I miss the plot?
I saw Mr. Mom in the theater too.
Oh, nice.
Michael
Whoopi.
Keaton.
Yeah,
Where's
yeah.
my Whoopi?
It was a great movie. Superhero.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Probably Wolverine.
Oh, I like it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Favorite dessert. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'd probably have to say the meringue pie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
People are so down on meringue lately. I
Yeah.
asked somebody the other day, it's like, you going to put meringue on it? Like, I don't know.
What?
It's like it's beaten white egg
It's
whites.
horse slobber.
Awesome.
Who gives a shit? Movie villains.
Probably what's that motherfucker's name? That he's the bad guy in Blue Velvet, and
Oh, hell.
he was the dad in that Tarantino movie where he's talking about the Sicilians. Dennis Hopper.
Oh, yeah. He makes a good villain.
Yeah, he does, man. He was a
Yeah.
a nut job.
Oh, for
Lunatic.
sure.
Yeah, lunatic.
Video game. What's the best? Your favorite? I know you play them.
Probably Super Mario Brothers.
All right. You're
Perfect.
right.
Very good. Who's your NFL team?
Fucking Dallas Cowboys.
Well, you'll have good news,
Folks.
Scott.
December 22nd, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Bijou Theater. Please don't let anything that was said here tonight, especially that last remark.
We got here. I got here.
The
and he said-
Cowboys?
and he tells me this news. He says, "Did you hear what Archie Manning said?" I said, "No."
Did you hear that yet?
No.
He said they asked him what NFL team he would like Arch to wind up with, and he said the Dallas Cowboys.
Amen.
And I said, "Is that
Motherfucker.
because their quarterback sucks?" Probably.
Yeah,
You know, this strange camera here has got my left eyeball like masqueraded in some sort of pixelated
it happens sometimes.
insurance.
And old granddad 114 helps with that sometimes
Here,
too.
Sure.
If I say movie hero, who do you think of?
Oh gosh. Mandrake.
What?
Yeah, from
What does that mean?
remember Mandrake from
No.
Doctor Strangelove?
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I do.
That's pretty good.
He was that kind of lunatic-y guy.
Yeah. No, that's pretty good. It took me a second. Thanks for clarifying. Favorite ice cream?
Vanilla.
All right.
At Sugar Queen Creamery.
With the beans or with?
I don't know.
Just
like
whatever.
some bitch white and in a cone.
Okay. All right. Now here's some yes and no's. Is there life on other planets, Josh Griffin?
No,
Is old music better?
it's music.
Bigfoot?
Woof.
Is karma really a bitch?
Apparently.
Did you ever find any razor blades and candy?
No. I ate a lot of popcorn balls.
Yeah.
Are the is the later Beatles better than the early Beatles?
No.
Is vinyl really better?
Probably.
Do blondes have more fun?
No.
No.
Does a full moon make people crazy?
No. People are crazy. Just
Magic? Real or
Nah.
did we go to the moon?
Of course.
Afterlife?
Please.
I like it. Let's hope so.
Have aliens ever visited the earth?
No, they don't exist.
Is the earth round?
Of course.
Do hitmen exist?
Absolutely. I know one.
Are all men created equal?
Almonds are not created equal.
Are all men
however, are.
created equal?
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm not really crazy about you being such an asshole about that one. Pronunciation. Let's see here. One more. Ghosts.
Well, Wilco's A Ghost is Born was probably the first record that I heard that was the confluence of what I thought psychedelic music was, meeting what I thought country music could be. So I'd say Ghost, yes.
Do you have a ghost story?
No.
Okay. All right, folks. That's been one more for the good guys. That's it. That's that. We'd like to say another thanks, especially to our good friend, Mr. Josh Griffin.
Beaty Chevrolet.
And thank you, Jamie.
The Wampus
And
Cat.
our and their contribution to this year's Christmas Spectacular.
Yeah, come
and
see us
being a
Sunday,
sponsor.
December the 22nd.
If you are
The
looking
Bijou
for
Theater.
new and or
Absolutely.
pre-owned vehicles, please visit Josh Griffin and the fine folks of Beaty Chevrolet. I will say this: I've known the family for quite some time, and they've always been especially good to me and helpful in my causes and to my personal life as well, and always been friends. And go see them for any of your new and or pre-owned card needs. Again, December 22nd, Mike McGill's 12th annual Christmas Spectacular at the beautiful Bijou Theater in downtown Knoxville, Tennessee, from 7 to 9 p.m. All proceeds will go to the Food for Kids program with Second Harvest Food Bank of East Tennessee. Jamie, you want to do another one?
Well, yeah, sure.
Josh, love you, pal. Thank you for being here. Cheers. Come back anytime.
Fellas.
Hopefully we'll do it again.
I enjoyed it.
Sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely.
You heard it here, folks. Cheers. One more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find.